Hey up everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of Yorkshire Gamers, a Reet Big Wargames podcast, and welcome to 2022. This is the first podcast of the new year. I hope you had a fantastic New Year celebration, and if you did one of those religious ceremonies over the Christmas period, I hope you had a great time there too and got lots of presents and lots of new toys to play with, hopefully all war game related. Before we go off to our interview with Dom and Ken from the Plastic Crack podcast, a little bit of housekeeping as we usually do. As I said at the end of the last episode, New Year is a new publishing schedule, so keep a lookout for episodes on the second Friday of every single month and also on the fifth Friday of those months that have 5 Fridays. It is a tiny change to the schedule. Normally I did the second and fourth, but it does make quite a big difference in terms of numbers. It's 7 less podcasts a year. If I continue, and I haven't got any plans to stop doing them, but it just takes a little bit of pressure off in terms of getting them organised, recorded, edited, etc., and out to everyone out there. And as you all know, this isn't a method of income for me, so it's very much done in my spare time. So just having that ease off on the accelerator pedal will give me a lot more time to stay enthused with these episodes and get them out there to you. So I've booked in the following guests for February and March, and I'll let you know about certainly the February one at the end of this show, and then I'll get people booked in as we go along. And due for another catch-up episode 23, and hopefully another brews in the vineyard during the summer. So lots of variation coming up during this year. Personally, I'm going for a little bit of a gaming slump at the moment. I think most of you who listen to these will be aware that it's the painting and collecting that's the big side of the hobby for me. And I don't know, I've lost the mojo for gaming at the moment, and I've not been down to the local Leeds club, and we've not had a game here for various reasons. Just letting it slide. No, there's no panic or rush about it. The painting mojo is absolutely on fire. Anybody who follows me on Instagram or Facebook will have seen the Garibaldi and Papal stuff that I've been doing recently that we've been cracking through. So there's no lack of enthusiasm for the hobby. It's just a lack of interest in gaming at the moment, and it'll come back. I've gone a couple of years in the past without gaming, and always stayed in interest with either the history or the figure side of it. We'll see what happens. Something will perk my interest, and I'll get gaming again. It'll happen fairly soon. The Analog Hobbies Winter Paint Challenge is up and running, and a lot of people have got stuff in. The 20th of 21st of January is kind of the cut-off point for people to get entries in, and I think about 2/3, 3/4 of the people have got entries in so far, and I'm ploughing nicely through my Battle of Mentana project. I've got 4 units of Garibaldi done and a unit for the Papal States, so we're cracking on quite nicely there. And we've had some great feedback to the last episode with me and Alex talking rubbish, brews in the vineyard over Christmas, so that was really nice. And I always encourage people, if you do like them or if you've got something to say about the podcast, then leave a message on any of the formats that you hear it on Podbean, on YouTube, or on one of my social media outlets. It's nice to kind of get feedback from the episodes, and generally it's very, very positive. And if there is a negative thing, I'm quite happy to discuss that with people as well. And if you want to contact me individually, then there's always your Yarkshire Gamer at gmail.com email to send me a message. So that's enough of me rambling on, and it's time to go over to our guests. So without further ado, here's interview. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Yorkshire Gamers, a Reet Big Wargames podcast, and this the first episode of 2022. And tonight, I'm really pleased to have two guys on who have been part of my Monday night entertainment since 2020, I think it was. And if you haven't been watching the Plastic Crack podcast, either live or on catch up, get it in early, then what have you been doing? First up is a man after my own heart, a quick painter, a lover of the bigger unit, the wise man of crack, and custodian of the older style of wargaming, a proponent of Yorkshire Gamers' Rule 4 for Wargames life, i.e. no weird shit. Although there are rumours that paparazzi have pictures of him painting a badger. But let's sweep that under the carpet for now. If you want your boots on the table, then this is your man. Welcome to Yorkshire Gamers podcast. Dom, how are you doing, mate?
What an intro that was, Ken. Absolutely sensational. Yeah, I'm really pleased to be here. I've listened to this podcast for a while, so it's very nice of you to ruin it by having me on.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. And my second guest, not only has he the best first name in the world, he's also able to bless you all. Relatively new to gaming, what he lacks in experience, he makes up for in enthusiasm. And to me, he's a total breath of fresh air in this hobby. He loves a new project and contrast paints, which could cause problems later on in this podcast. But last year, he set the world of the internet alight with his review on Epic Warlord. Some say global warming has been quickened from the heat generated by the conversation to that post. So let's see what trouble he can get us in it all tonight. All the way from Miniature Wargaming Warriors. Welcome, Brother Ken.
Thank you very much for having me. It is the best first name in the world, isn't it?
It is, without a shadow of a doubt.
Dom, do you like this? Is like the rarest time in the world where there's two Kens and like we're the majority.
Yeah.
I've got that vision of the Twilight Zone of two Kens coming at me from each angle. It's a bit scary.
Well, both of you are well used to doing podcasts, but have you been a guest before? Ken, have you been on a...
Yes, I have. Yeah. I have been. A couple of shows now. So I've done Miniature Realms, which is out of the frying pan.
Yeah.
They do like a Middle-earth strategy battle game podcast, and I've also been on Modelling for Advantages.
Cool.
Little live stream as well.
Dom?
Yeah, I did Modelling for Advantage, but I'm not as popular as Ken, so that's as far as I go. It's probably because I'm not called Ken.
Yeah.
You haven't got the best name in the world, mate.
Yeah.
That's why.
Ladies and gentlemen, please vote for your favourite member. So, before we settle down and we start talking rubbish about stuff, it's time to put you under a little bit of pressure, and that's the 4-minute challenge. So, rather than go on for 3.5 hours about playing with toy soldiers, give everyone 4 minutes to introduce themselves. You can take longer, you can take shorter, no problems at all. Dom, do you want to go first, mate?
Yeah, sort of talking about how I got into the hobby, you mean?
Yeah. 4 minutes to say
4 minutes.
Little kid to where you are now.
Oh my goodness, it's too long. I'm ancient, mate.
That's no problems at all. I'll press.
He's got his bus pass coming next year, so you know.
I'll press the go button, mate, and then just give us your best go.
Okay, ready? Okay, so I guess my interest in gaming goes back to as long as I can remember being interested in history and particularly military history. I was that kid who was obsessed with playing with toy soldiers, and in those days it used to be those sort of Britain models and the big Airfix things and that sort of thing. And the extent of my gaming in those days was sort of lining them up on my parents' floor and lobbing marbles and Lego at it. But at school I used to play a bit of D&D back in the day, and loved all that sort of thing. And then sort of slowly crept into more grown-up wargaming. So I discovered, I think, on one of my library forays, if you remember the little red Airfix Napoleonic book.
Yep.
Yeah, Bruce Quarry's rules. And I discovered that and then bought loads of boxes over several months and years, boxes of 172nd Napoleonics. And you could only get about 3 different things. You get French infantry. That's the fella. I had the Napoleonic version of that. And it was great. And me and a mate used to play it, and I loved all that sort of thing. But I guess when I really became a proper gamer, or really got completely hooked and realised how serious it all was, I went to a new school, and I bumped into got friends with a chap called Ian, whose dad was a serious gamer. And I mean serious, because I went round to his house one day, and he had his entire 15mm Napoleonic army spread all over his dinner table. And he had every single regiment in the Federation of the Rhine. I mean, literally, I can't even remember what the scale was, what the scale of figure was, but he had literally every battalion, every squadron, every gun modelled in 15mm. And I just went, and it was just that sort of starry moment. Went, I want that. I want to do that. And I started gaming. I started just pestering I was still young. My family weren't particularly wealthy. We didn't have a huge amount of money. I didn't have any money, but I'd sort of loiter around any of the model shops trying to find, keeping an eye on it. And you probably remember, Ken, in those days, you didn't have the luxury of all these different figures. Figures were expensive. And when you wanted to get a figure, you had to send off a postal order off to minifigs or somebody, and they'd send you this about a week later, 2 weeks later, you get this sort of full scap thing come back with, if you were really lucky, a free sample. And that was my thing, and I loved all that sort of stuff, and started sort of slowly building up. Went to a club, Heston Wargaming Club, with my mate Ian, and sort of got really into it. But I guess, like everybody else I speak to, this sort of, you go through that phase when you get a bit older, and girls and pubs and all that kind of stuff gets in the way. And I was the same. I went to university. I stopped gaming. Played a lot of board games, Risk, and I was really into Third Reich, the Avalon Hill game. I really loved that as a game, and various other board games, and loved all that kind of stuff. And sort of then many years later came back to it through a number of friends, and got seriously into it then. Had a little bit of money to spend, went off and did some competition gaming, and slowly but surely built it back up again. And then had another break because of kids and family and what have you. I'm running out of time, aren't I?
Yep.
And
he can just waffle. Trust me, he can waffle
forever.
Oh, God.
And then I started back at it again, and that's when it's really got out of hand, hence why I'm sitting in my bunker here with millions and millions of figures and the podcast and all that kind of stuff. So there you go.
Now shut it!
Oh, brilliant. That was a good one. That was a good one. I like that. Some people just go too quick. And then other people like yourself, Dom, you think you've got loads of time, and then it's like, oh shit, I've got 30 seconds and I'm on 1982.
You have to pedal faster there. It's ridiculous. It's all right. No. Ken's only been doing it for 5 minutes, so I can use some of his time.
No worries. So we'll chat about lots of that going forward through the rest of the show.
Sure.
But we'll move over to you now, Ken, and your 4 minutes start now.
All right, yeah. So cool. For me, in introduction into wargaming, if I really think about it, actually, would have been the old, the plastic army men. You can get the green and the tan stuff.
Oh yeah.
So when I was probably about 8, we had a really long front room, 1970s house. Massive lounge, one end of the house to the other, and we would set up the armies one end and the other end, and we have like the little missile, and you just chuck them.
Oh.
And this was me and my younger brother. So he was 6, and obviously, 6 and 8, that sort of age with missiles, you're running around, jumping and all that, and they start heading towards eyes and things like that because things get a little bit thing. But I guess that's technically like my first foray into, like, I would say, wargaming. Then again, when I was probably about 10, 11, my mum bought home from a charity shop. So this is when it first came out, the original Warhammer Epic you know, the 6mm stuff.
Yeah.
She brought that home. She brought home first edition Blood Bowl, second edition 40k box that she paid like £3 for or something in a charity shop that someone had just donated. Now, I didn't know what all this was, and you know, there was metal figures, plastic, and I remember trying to just paint on with no thinning down at the age of 10, like you do. Didn't have a clue what the rules were, just liked the look of it all, and that ended up growing out of it. When I got a bit older, then I started playing video games, and but there was always a bug that set a bug in my head to want to play tabletop wargaming. It was always there, and I just never had anyone to play it until I was about 16. And my cousin, he collected the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth strategy battle game stuff when it first came out. And I remember going around his house, and he had it all out, and we would play, and he would try and teach me how to play a Middle Earth strategy battle game at first. And again, it was a massive break. And then one day, I'm sitting at work, and I call him Gumbo Liam. He was the other original member of the Miniature Wargaming Warriors, and he just disappears. I don't know where you've gone, Liam, but yeah. So yeah, and I was just it's like one of them moments. I'm a sly 5 minutes on my laptop at work having a look at the Warhammer website, thinking about what is this, and he goes, "Oh, you're into Warhammer, are you?" I was like, "No, but talk to me." And he foolishly said to me, "Oh, I'll give you a game sometime." So I said, "All right then, when? Tomorrow." And I ended up going around his house playing a game of 40k and fell in love with it. And I ended up buying stupid amounts of plastic, as I always do.
Yeah.
Spent like, I've got to be quiet because Laura can hear me, like £500 on plastic miniatures that ended up getting sold. As I always do. Ended up spending a fortune on that. And then we decided to get into bolt action. So playing historical wargaming, and got an army for £90. What a bargain. And this was the day before we knew about third-party retailers. Yeah. So it was direct from Warlord. And fell in love with it. And then met this Gumbo, didn't I?
Replace one Gumbo with another, right?
Yeah, replace one with another. Decided to get talking, and we started. We were the founding members of the Plastic Crack podcast, and it was a really, really good experience, and it still is. We love doing it now. Oh, look at that time, man! I'm nearly coming to the end. I've nearly timed it just right. That's pretty much me. I've just hit 3,000 subs on my channel, which I'm really happy about. I'd never thought I'd get that many. I thought 300 would be enough. Yeah. But yeah, that's me with my tabletop wargaming history.
Oh, superb. Time, just getting to the end now. Always like to listen to the end if you're this close.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And... You won't be old enough to remember the Sweeney, will you, Ken?
I can remember my dad talking about it when I was growing up.
Oh, it's on.
I gather it was, I watched the newer version that came out on the BBC about 10 years ago now. Yeah, I saw that, but I think was it the 80s or the 70s?
70s, late 70s. Yeah, it's usually around on UK Gold or one of those old channels. It's well worth a watch. It's well worth. You wouldn't get away with anything that they do on it.
No.
I'm surprised they even show some of the episodes. To be fair, it's absolutely brilliant. Well, thanks very much for that, and very interesting there. Obviously, Ken, very different journey into the hobby than myself and Dom, who were very similar.
It took a long time. Yeah. It took a long time.
But most people seem to get into it these days, don't they? Via Games Workshop, rather than the Airfix generation, as I suppose me and Dom are from.
Yeah. I skipped all that out. I did end up buying some Airfix from Hobbycraft back in the day.
Yeah.
And I put it all at the end of my bed. It was like that D-Day Battlefield set where you got like the guns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I had that, and then I looked at it and I thought, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to paint it? And then my mum goes, you need the money, take it back. so I took it when you could take stuff back in the day. So I took it back to Hobbycraft, and so that was kind of my first forte, I guess.
Oh, brilliant!
You've never stopped taking things back, and you're
no. I'm just a recycler. I am an eco wargamer.
Yeah. First ever recycling war game.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that I'm absolutely shite at. I have to say. So yeah, I'm sat in a room with thousands and thousands of figures that I've never sold. But there we go. That's just me.
I'm the same, mate. I can't part with them. They're my little babies.
Exactly.
It's such a wrench to get rid of anything.
Dom's room is like a shop. It's great.
Yeah, I think looking at the room behind Dom, I think it's fairly similar to mine. You can see all the stuff. You can see all the stuff.
It's like the Aladdin's cave.
Yeah, you can see all the stuff piled up behind me. I mean, I'll just put the camera around onto the table at the moment. There's figures everywhere. So we're going to talk about the podcast later on the show, but the first part of the program is always about my guest and what they do and their gaming. Ken, what's your? I think you're moving house at the moment, aren't you? So
I am. Yeah. I had some great news about that just a minute ago. To be fair, literally about 5 minutes before, I'm there typing emails like, "This is good news." Yeah. I should be moving within the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
Which is now finally getting sorted. I've been moving for the next couple of weeks for about a year now.
Yeah.
I'm moving house at the moment, so I'm finally getting like a big. Well, I've got technically half a wargaming room at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's your wargaming space going to be?
Yeah, it's probably about Well, it's going to be the loft, so it's probably going to be about 20 foot by 30 foot. So I'm quite happy.
Oh, nice. Nice.
But it might have a train set running around it. As well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard about this train set. I'm not sure whether it's the right place.
He's a deviant, Ken. That's what I'm saying.
I know, I'm a bit of both, aren't I? But I'm very much looking forward to it.
Oh, brilliant! And Dom, you've entered the modern world of the man shed, which a number of my previous guests. It is. It looks huge. Have you got one of them wide angle cameras? Because I can't see the back of it.
It goes forever, mate. It's 24 by 14 feet.
Wow.
So it's pretty big. It's one of those absolute luxuries that only you get when you're sort of very lucky or you've or worked bloody hard through your life.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's I've never, or Ken will know this. I've never had sort of my dedicated space for a while. In 40 years I've been gaming. Yeah, I used to use the garage. That was when we moved to this house. We had a massive, great garage, and I said, right, that's my gaming room. And my wife said, yeah, absolutely fantastic. But slowly over the years, and particularly times when I didn't use it, it got sort of filled up with other stuff, and so I had to fight for any corner in it. And so then she said, oh, why don't you build something in the garden? I went, really?
As soon as those words come out, Dom was like, right.
Yeah. I said, can you sign this now, please?
I need to act on this immediately. Put the order in. Yeah, I put an order in. Right, yeah, it's done.
Yeah, literally, as the moment the words were out of her mouth, we were down the place and signed a contract. And yeah, so we had this built during the summer, and it's just amazing. It's just fantastic just to have a space which I can bring all my toys into.
Yeah.
I work in here as well, which is dangerous because that distracts me. And I've got a 8x6 table behind me.
Yeah. I think there's room for an extension there. Dom definitely.
Oh, there's room for more. There could be more. It's absolutely sensational. So I'm very, very lucky. I know I am. And it's brilliant. Fantastic to have the space. I sit in here each day and I go, apart from that, it's blinking cold at times because it doesn't have any heating. I look around and I go, wow. How lucky am I?
It's like we're both members of two clubs now. We've got to. It's down at our club, isn't it, Dom?
Yeah.
Our clubs. Oh, bloody hell. So Ken came along to Ken has wheedles into my club, Farnborough Wargames Society.
Yeah.
And they put the subs up just this year, and he went, oh, that's a bit steep. We can just all come round here, can't we? So he's starting to introduce himself into my place. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, these VK von Ketteringham, who you both know from his Wargames
Yeah.
channel. He's had his own Wargames shed built this year. And then my friends at Legendary Wargames, who run Wargames Holidays, they've got a massive, you can't call it a shed, it's more of an aircraft hangar that they've had built over the last couple of years. So it's definitely the thing to do. And
if you've got the space and the room for it, it's fantastic.
And it just adds value.
Yeah.
It just adds value.
Exactly. And it makes a big difference to the way that you game. I mean, we've, as you've just seen, we've got the permanent table here at my house, and 5 or 6 guys come round here on a regular basis. And if you want to carry on a game, you're not got that pressure that you have at a Wargames club to pack up and go for 11 o'clock. You can talk about rubbish and football and trains and everything, and just carry on the following week. Have you got plans for anything like that, Dom? Are you looking to?
Yeah, so I definitely have, mate, and it's I think it's one of the attractions. Actually, is, like you say, you can sort of have people. A couple of people have been round already. Came round last week and had a game, and a couple of other mates have been round, and it's just that ability just to leave the thing up. I think that's what to be able to, I know you'll get into this in a minute, but I've always had a hankering after doing big games, and to do bigger games on a reasonably large table and be able to, because it's the time limit, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Club night, you get a couple of hours to play. By the time you've had a good old chinwag with people and chewed the fat, you kind of end up not doing many turns, so you end up packing it all away. So the idea I can just leave it up and people can come round and play. Fantastic. So definitely
makes a huge difference. So whereabouts did you say you were? Near Farnborough? Is that your local club?
Yeah, I live sort of Ascot, Camberley way in Surrey, and Farnborough's. I don't know why I started going to Farnborough. Farnborough's about half an hour away from me, which is where the club I joined. Oh, I know what it was. It was just a convenient night that they met. That's why I went there.
And Ken, are you much further away? How far? Whereabouts are you?
I'm between Southampton and Winchester, so I'm not too far. I'm 40 minutes from Farnborough, so just a little bit longer than Dom. So it just makes sense. Again, we're very lucky. We live very close to each other. So it's not a far drive for me to go up there on a Friday. Is it, Dom?
When he knocks on my door and says, "Hello, got a chance for a game." That's the one that gets me really worried.
Yeah. I seem to remember, Ken. Didn't you blag a car from somewhere to go?
Yes, yeah. So when I went and this is quite funny. Everyone thought it. Everyone just started laughing. Martin, absolutely. So Martin Seven's son, he's another member of our Plastic Crap podcast, and he lives up in Cambridge. So it's a fair old drive, and it's like 3.5 hours away. And my missus needed the car at the weekend, so I couldn't use it. So there's no other way for me to get there, really. Especially if I'm taking all my minis. So I had the ingenious idea of thinking, why don't I test drive a car? Because I looked at car hire and thought, 140 quid for 2 days, and the inner Yorkshireman in me came out.
Yeah. Well done.
I was like, no. I was like, no, I am not paying that. I was like, okay, So I thought, why don't I just test drive a car for 2 days?
Yeah.
And I did. And the insurance was included.
Awesome.
All I had to do was just put a bit of fuel in it. So
excellent. What a top tip there.
He's the blagger in chief.
I've had so many good. I have a fond thing with IKEA, as people may know. Yeah. I'm rather an IKEA fanboy. And so I was looking on. We're moving, and I'm looking for this PAX like customizable wardrobe system. Yeah, right. And I see one come on Facebook Marketplace, and it was free. And I was like, okay, what's wrong with it, sort of thing. I messaged him. It's been on there for like 10 minutes. And he said, no, I just want it gone because I'm emptying the storage ring. Yeah. I went, fine, I'll be there Saturday, which was my birthday. Yeah. I even got up on my birthday to go there. Picked it up, took it around my mum's house, all in perfect order. And we worked out how much it cost, and it's 695 quid brand new.
Wow.
I think he's got Yorkshire blood. I'm sure he has.
I must, because I love a bargain.
It's a black bargain hunter. Jeez.
Superb. So the Farnborough Club then, whereabouts is that? What night do they meet, etc.?
They meet on a Friday night.
Yeah.
So I think they used to meet at weekends, but so we meet in Church Hall just outside the city centre or town centre in Farnborough.
It's quite easy to
going
get to,
a
isn't it?
long time. Yeah, it's a good little club. It's I guess I'm not sure how many, about 60 members, something like that in total. But I think probably about on an average night you get about 20 to 30 come along most weeks. Lots of games going. So, they're a good bunch of people. It's all pretty much all historical. There's the odd fantasy thing creeps in. Ken brought the tone down by bringing some epic along one week. But otherwise, a good friendly bunch, a really good group.
I mean, there must be places closer. Is it the people that are there that bring you to it, or what's the draw?
I think primarily it was, if I'm honest, I was just looking at clubs and thinking there's a few around here. In fact, many years ago I started one myself back where I used to live. But the problem was it wasn't the right night. A lot of them are board game centric, which I like a board game, but it wasn't what I wanted. It was just because Farnborough is pretty much exclusively historical. And you know what it's like when you go down the club and you start meeting people and you get to know people, you get your little sort of group of people you like to play with. So I got some really good mates down there and we have a good old laugh.
Yeah, I have noticed that. I've noticed that quite a bit. Everyone knows each other and everyone's really friendly with each other. But you tend to have your own little group down there, don't you? You are right. But anyone will play with anyone. It's like I wandered over to the Chain of Command game and they dragged me into that because I don't play bolt action anymore because of somebody.
Oops.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice. There's little groups. They're not cliques exactly, but there are definitely groups of people who tend to play
certain games, don't they?
They'll play certain types of games, and people fluctuate around those groups. So it's kind of nice because you can have a bit of variety, or you say like somebody wants to have a game of Chain of Command, or someone will say, "Oh yeah, I haven't played that for a few years," and they'll
Yeah, so it's a nice kind of dynamic that I have to say.
Definitely.
We're pretty similar up here at Leeds as well. We've got groups. The group that game here tend to game together at the Leeds club as well. I remember years and years we were, and you'll probably remember this, Dom. We had a group of ancient players who would only play ancient WRG 6 or whatever it was at the time,
whatever the latest one was.
Yeah, and they wouldn't play anything else.
Oh,
and they all had beards and smoked pipes, and it was all very, very, very serious.
I don't think we can actually nail down a rule set, can we? What we play, we don't actually play the same rule set week to week, do we?
I think that's part of the problem, Ken, isn't it? I mean, we literally we play it for a couple of weeks, and then we'll change,
move on to the next thing.
And just in time, if we start to pick up the rules, we then go and do something else and learn a new set of rules, and then we'll start
introduce. But then what we'll do is we'll be playing the new set of rules. So you might go from sharp to muskets and tomahawk, and then we'll start bringing sharp rules into musket and tomahawk. You got to do that.
But as long as we're all doing the same kind of stupid mistakes, it's all fun. It's all fine, and that's having a laugh is all that matters, and we do have a laugh, I have to say.
So, if you had to pick a favourite period or scale, Dom, what would your go-to be?
Oh, now that's interesting. So, I mean, Napoleonics were definitely what got me into the hobby, as I said before. So, I think that I always have a passion for Napoleonics, but I do also love ancient, particularly the Alexandrian and Alexandrian successor period. That particularly, but it has to be 28 mil. 28 mil is. I've got lots of 15 mils, but 28 is the one for me. I absolutely love playing games in. So,
there is no better sight than a massive pike block in 28 mil, smashing its way across the table,
backed up with a couple of elephants. I mean, just what more is there for a gaming experience for me? But yeah, absolutely,
exactly. We came close once. We had a World War I game where we had a unit of Gurkhas. close assault in a trench, jumping off a gunboat at the same time, and that was the
That's
closest
cool.
that we ever got to
That's
the
cool.
elephant phalanx combination.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
So, Ken, what's your go-to?
Oh, it's hard. It's very hard. I'll probably have to go 28mm Napoleonics again.
Yeah.
But that's very closely followed by 12.5mm Napoleonics from Warlord. Very, very. Well, is it 12.5 or is it 15 or is it 10? I can't remember now, but it's somewhere around that. But I set the internet on fire.
I was going to say,
it's epic, mate.
Now you've brought it up, Ken. We better tell everyone what happened.
Yeah, so I was very, very fortunate. I reached out to Warlord Games and I just said to him, I say, because I've not reviewed, I actually hadn't reviewed any of their products, I don't think, at that point. And I just said, is there any chance you could send me some of the epic sprues if you've got any lying about so I could review them and have a look? And they said, yeah, we'll send you some. And it was myself and Stuart from Miniature Realms. He was going to do British and I was going to do French. And they sent us a set out, and we were really lucky to get them. And we got them in, and we did a review on them. And I really liked them.
Yeah.
Really, really liked them. I thought this is, a good little gateway into people being able to have a battle in a box and get an army out. And it kind of exploded from that point because I put a link up on a certain Facebook group to do with Napoleonics, and I think 200 and something comments later about the scale.
Wow.
Being told that I was many things. What was the word that Martin used that I kept getting called?
Was that the fanboy one? The Warlord's fanboy?
The Warlord fanboy was. Yeah, I'm a Warlord. I can assure you, I'm not a Warlord fanboy.
It's not. No, he isn't.
No, I'm definitely not a Warlord fanboy. But there was something else I've forgotten. But a shield. That was it. Shield, wasn't it? I was called a shield. Yeah, I can't get called a shield. But we had this argument. Someone was telling me that they can't be used with 15mm figures, and I was like, yeah, they can. They look absolutely fine. I've got, I've looked at 15.
I did a video of it showing them.
And Dom did a video. But then the same person then argued with me that Blue Moon, that are 18mm figures, by the way, are absolutely fine with 15mm. And I thought, hang on a minute, 15, 16, 17. I thought that's like 3mm difference. And my figures are like 3mm difference. So what's the difference? Yeah. And this person just could not work that out. And I was like, they go. It's fine. Yes, you couldn't use the Blue Moon with them because, yes, that would look a bit strange.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to use an actual 15mm figure, I didn't see the problem with it.
Yeah.
But it kind of destroyed that forum thread, and I got messaged by one of the admins and said, as much as we don't mind you putting whatever you like up, it's absolutely fine. We encourage it.
Yeah.
Try not to bring that up again.
Please don't talk about Epic again.
Yeah.
that forum, that Facebook page is notorious for it. It really is.
I must admit, I might have been a bit thingy knowing that was going to probably happen.
You were stirring, as only you can.
I was riling the internet up.
Yeah.
You went out and you went bear baiting with them, definitely.
Yeah,
it's only because Martin told me not to.
Yeah, I did. I have to say, I quite enjoyed the way that you took it and the way that you dealt with it. Because I think, I don't know about you guys with the podcast, but certainly I will get every now and again somebody who latches on and just tries to hate in every way possible.
Oh yeah, you get it in every walk of life.
And it's by dealing with it, I think it's fantastic because I actually get it and use it as material for the next podcast. I've said, but I think very much the way that you guys do with Plastic Crack is that it's there for a laugh and a joke and to have people have fun with it. That's what this podcast has always been about. And some people just can't understand the concept of having a laugh.
It's not serious. We are not a serious podcast. No. We are four friends that like to have a chat on a Monday night and just you're there for the ride.
Yeah.
You're there for the honest banter. That's what it's all about.
We've always said that, if nobody actually listened to what we did, we'd probably still be sitting there as four mates.
Yeah.
It's just like being down the pub having
It's like a married couple. We're like married couple.
That's
just what we are.
Bear in mind, before lockdown, none of us had even met.
Yeah.
It wasn't until last year we even met for the first time. So we have that relationship where it's just a whole, four of us talking rubbish about wargaming for 2 hours. And people come along for the ride. And if they take it too seriously, then they're really in the wrong place. Because we're not taking it seriously.
Did Warlord say anything about the controversy, or they were just
Nope.
they were just happy with
they were absolutely fine. They loved it. I think they loved it because I was speaking to one of the guys at Warlord, and they didn't even mention it. They were like, "Do you want some more?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't really got time at the moment because I'm moving, so I haven't got time to paint some stuff." But at the end of the day, I did. I've done a couple of painting tutorials for them.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. Is it's like the content for my channel is there just to help people.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And if people don't like it, they don't have they don't have to follow my paint guide. If they don't want it, they can do their own.
That's what I don't understand. It's this intolerance there is generally about things in life, particularly things in social media. It's like, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Don't watch something
Well,
else.
it's not even don't watch it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Fair enough. Don't subscribe to my channel. Don't watch my videos again. It's not a problem.
So has it come out yet? Has the box sets and everything come out from Warlord?
They are coming out. They are getting shipped out this week.
Yeah, I saw a picture somewhere of somebody grinning with this massive pallets full of huge.
Yeah,
sets.
there's a lot. Yes. Honestly, I think it's if you've never done Napoleonics, I think it's a really nice way to get into it. Personally,
I do too. If I didn't have thousands of 15mm ones, I would probably have bought into it myself.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, Dom. I've got, I think, 7,500, 8,000 15mm. It's just not going to happen.
But they're not made. They're not there. I don't think they're there for people like yourselves that have got massive 15mm. They're there to get people that are in the smaller scales hooked into it. But people give me that same argument of there's been metals around for years, right? And I'm quite controversial. I don't really like metals very much.
Yeah.
I like plastic because it's there and it's uniform, and that's what I like. And the gamer that comes from Games Workshop, they like plastic. Yeah. They like using plastic because that's all they use now is plastic, and they use that horrible fine cast resin which they're getting rid of.
Oh god,
but
nobody likes that.
But they use the plastic, and it's designed to hook a new generation. Phil, and I think it's really cool.
I was speaking to Sean Clark, my mate from God's Own Scale podcast, and Sean said that it could well be. Dom will remember that Airfix brought out a Waterloo box set, and you had LaHaye Saint, the model from LaHaye Saint, and you had 4 boxes of figures. And loads of people got into gaming through being bought that box set for Christmas or similar. Yeah. And this Warlord Games box set, I know it's a bit more expensive, but that could be the gateway for loads of new people into the hobby.
Oh, wickedy, yeah, definitely. 100%, yeah. Especially if you've got two friends, you've got an army in each box, which is great. And I do you know what? As much, I'm gonna have to mention it. As much as Dom always goes on at me about these trains, right? Yeah. I'll tell you something. Wargaming is cheap.
Oh yeah.
Compared to train. Hornby have just released their new stuff. There was a train on there that got released today. It's like £600.
Wow.
For a train, £600 for a plastic train.
Well, I've got a friend who does competitive cycling, and he spent
those bikes are massive amount of money.
£4,000 on a set of wheels.
Wow!
And there isn't even an engine attached to it. It's just
and we're moaning about an army in a box for £90.
Exactly.
No, I completely agree. I think it's going to be a massive thing. I think they tested the water beautifully with the ACW thing, and that clearly, I think that it seemed to surprise them how successful that was. Yeah. And I think they just we're going to see. Well, we know we're going to see. Yeah. Other battles, you'll see classic battles through history. Yeah, we did get a little inside scoop. Not that we can tell anyone about it, but we did get an inside scoop, and there's more coming. Yeah. I mean, you name the battles, they'll be doing them. And as you say, I think because I think our generation, Ken,
Mm.
older Ken, we came through a very different route into the hobby, right?
Yeah.
And in those days there were all these Airfix things and various other things you could do as a kid. A lot of the other Ken's generation and younger have come out of a completely different way of gaming.
Well, they're used to. I mean, my lad did a bit of 40k, and you can spend 30 odd quid on a figure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
So to have a
So you've got
box of
4
plastics,
battalions for that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Oh yeah, that's the beauty of historical wargaming. And me and Liam found this out when we first did it. We couldn't believe when we looked on Warlord's website that was a complete army in a box, and they were 70 quid back then.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago. We were like, what? £70, and that's the whole army?
yeah.
No, we must need more. And we're like, we looked at him, we were like reading the rule book, and then we even sent an email like through the messenger service to Warlord, and we asked them, so if we both buy a box of this is a full army of 1,000 points.
Yeah.
And they went, yeah. And we were like, we were like, what? Just couldn't believe it.
Oh, brilliant. So just to finish off this first section then, I like to speak to people about the Venn diagram of wargaming. So if you remember back to your maths classes back at school.
Okay.
So Dom's scratching his head there. He's getting ready. So all it is this actually does work quite well because it kind of predicts the way that you game, and a lot of the bigger gamers like myself will fall into the categories that I fall into. So I always like to ask people when they come on and see where they sit.
I'm quite interested now. I really like to know.
So if you imagine the 4 categories as wargamer, painter, collector, and historian, and which ones of those are most prominent for you, and how do they fit together? So Dom, if you want to go first, mate.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I've sort of had one of those epiphanies on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because a few years ago, I would have said gamer, historian. Those were my 2 by far ahead of everything else. And because as mentioned before, I'm big into military history. It's always been fascinated, and I love gaming.
Yeah,
I can game anything. And for me, it's always been a question of getting the figures on the table to play a game with. That's, so the painting is very much 4th place for me. But I've realised over the years I've got a bit of a collection addict. So definitely the collection bits moved up. So I wouldn't say it's quite up there with the with the other 2, but it's gaming, historical, collecting. And then painting very much as a 4th place. Yeah. It's not my thing. I do it to get them on the table and play games with, and that's my priority. So yeah, definitely the gaming.
Ken?
Interesting, really. It depends what mood I'm in. Depends what time of the year you catch me at. So at the moment, I'm very much I would very much like to play games, and then I do really actually enjoy painting. So I do, and then it's going to be I've probably put gaming, history, painting, collecting as last.
Because you sell quite a bit of stuff, don't you?
I sell stuff. Yeah. If it's sat there, I sell it. Yeah, and I put it towards the next stuff. It very much so. But the history grabs. The thing is, though, I will end up going back to it. But the problem is, I can't have it just sitting there for 2-3 years. It drives me nuts.
Oh,
Ken just hates that. Off his left shoulder there behind him, for months and months and months, there was the epic ACW.
Oh God, yeah.
And every podcast we did, he was there, and it's like, Ken, are you ever going to do that? Yeah, I'm going to do it. And then it just disappeared one week, and it was like, what have you done with that then?
You need to go to Australia.
You need to monitor his eBay account and see what's coming in and what's going.
Completely. But I mean, to me, I could never sell anything, and then with a thought that I'm going to buy it back in a few years. I mean, it just that.
My thing is, I'm going to sell it because in a few years' time there might be a newer, better version of it.
Oh no! You just stick with the one you got. Tried and trusted.
So for myself at the moment, I'm going for a period where I just can't be bothered to game.
Oh right.
So
Okay.
I did a bit of gaming in November, and then I just didn't get anything in December. I've got nothing planned for this month, but my painting mojo is absolutely on fire at the moment. I just can't stop, and I'm just churning unit out after unit after unit, just filling boxes with them.
Yeah. When it's like that, you don't want to give
No,
into it.
you don't.
you need to keep going as long as that train will go.
Yeah.
I was like that with my French. I painted them all within 6 months. I did not want to stop painting my French.
Yeah.
Because yes, and then the day I did, I was very sad because I had one unit that I didn't paint until last week.
Yeah.
So and that took another 8 months to paint one unit.
I couldn't imagine that. To me, it's like if I wasn't gaming, I wouldn't bother painting. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It's like at the moment, I want to start an Italian Wars project, and what's holding me back?
Not,
I've got all
not
the
my
figures.
fault. It's not my fault.
Yeah, it is all your bloody fault. It certainly is, because I see your beautiful figures, and
I know.
so two things scare me out of this. One is the fact I've got to try and match anything like your paint jobs, which is not going to happen. And the second one is I don't know what rule system I'm going to use.
Yeah.
And unless I know, because I know I'm not going to be gaming with them yet, until I know what rules I'm going to use, it's completely stymied me on the painting. So I won't start painting them, until I know that system and I know what I'm going to play. So it has to be gamed with. Otherwise, I'm not interested.
You see, I'm completely the other way around when I build armies. I did it with the Italian Wars, and I'm doing it again at the moment with the Italian Wars of Independence. I'm building and painting the armies to look like I want them to look like. And then I'll find a set of rules, and if it's not their basing system, then sod 'em. I'll change the rule set. Or I'll move, because you'll find you talked very briefly earlier on about how you were like changing your rule sets and get to here. We play a game. We'll get into a new period, and if we like the set of rules, that's it. We'll stick with it. Because we've got so many collections that we've got here. Tried to change rules, we'd never ever game anything. So there's a set of rules called Johnny Reb 2, which came out in the early 1980s. We're still using them for ACW, because if we tried to change, everyone would go, "Oh, I don't understand this." because you're jumping from period of history to period of history every week, and you just want something you can hold on to.
Yeah. Weird nightmare for that, I think, Don.
Completely. I don't know whether it's my... Definitely.
New shiny book syndrome, that's what you get.
Yeah, I think there's a degree of that. I think also because years ago I was a bit of a competitive gamer, and so you'd follow whatever the competitive scene was playing. So, and then, when WRG 6th was moved to 7th, you binned your 6th and you moved on to 7th, and then when that was binned, you moved on to the next thing. So I kind of got the habit of it. But it's funny, we were talking about this a while back, Ken, weren't we? It's like I used to love some of those old rule systems,
historical
Warhammer
Ancient Battles.
It was a fantastic, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I love those rules. I haven't played it since they stopped supporting it. And I've still got all the rules. They're all sitting down there.
There's no reason we can't play it.
I know.
It's just a crazy thing.
And I think if you went back to it, you would probably just fit back into it like an old pair of slippers. That's what we.
And I think probably to your point, I would probably adapt them more now.
Yeah.
Because I think in the past I probably wasn't confident enough to, you all have your own little house rules on every rule system you have, right? So there's little adaptations or things that aren't terribly clear. But I think now I'd have no problem with going, right, didn't like how that worked, so let's tweak that a bit and change that bit and do it. And so probably that's me as a bit older gamer where I could probably feel a bit uncomfortable doing it. Yeah. But also it's a as I say, it's all about the gaming and playing with my mates. So I have to bring them along as well. So if they don't want to do it, it's no point, right? So
but I think you'll find having your own setup as well will lead to more of that, because
definitely
you're not going down to a club or to a shop to try and find somebody to play a set of rules against who you've never met before, where the rules have to be what they are in the book. If you're playing with your mates all the time, on a regular night down in Dom's shed, then you can change the rules, and as long as you all know what they are, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
doesn't matter, does it?
Doesn't matter at all.
No, exactly right. And I think that's what we're certainly starting to do that more down at Farnborough. I think we've started to modify things, and change rules a bit, and because it tends to be the same group of people playing, it's easier to do that. As you say, if
and
you
then someone else joins in, we just tell them.
No, we don't do it that way. We do it this way.
Yeah, no, it's when they correct you for the rule, and you're like, we don't do it like that.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for that, guys. That was a great introduction, and we'll just take a short break now, and we'll be back shortly to talk about some big games. Okay, we're back with the second part, and I always like to talk about big games with all my guests who come on here, because that way we get a different view of what a big game is and people's experience of them. And the first question I ask anyone is, what does big game mean to you? And I'm not talking about chasing lions around Africa, but so Ken, you're just kind of newer into the hobby. What would a big game mean to you if somebody said that to you?
Someone with more than, I would say, 3 people aside.
Yeah.
You game, where you got more participants in the actual game, and there has to be, if you're talking scale wise, if it's 28 mil, you've got to have over 1,000 figures on the table.
My kind of game.
Yeah, I've only been privileged to umpire one of those games.
Yeah.
And quite biasedly, I might put.
He finally admits it.
Oh dear me! There's obviously a story there.
Yeah, there is quite a story.
Which game was that, then, Ken?
It was a Napoleonic game at CrackCon.
Oh right,
last year.
Yeah.
So the big Napoleonic game. We did I think it was 12-foot by 6-foot table, and we had, I think it was all of my collection of French, some of Martin's. We had some of Drew, who came down from Scotland. He used some of his French. All of Martin's British that he had, and it was enough. I think it was like 20 battalions aside with cavalry, cannons, the little green gits. I don't know if we can swear on here. So I said,
I know you can swear on here. Don't worry about it.
Oh no, little green bastards, as mine would put. So yeah, and that was amazing. I think me and Martin worked out as 1,500 odd infantry.
Brilliant.
And that was awesome. That's 4 people aside. That was.
Oh.
So they had 2 umpires.
Yeah.
Ken and Martin were umpiring it.
Yeah.
Both of whom are
lenient towards Frenchies.
Complete francophiles when it comes to Napoleonic.
Oh dear.
So Ken, who do you think won that game?
Yes.
It weren't the English, that's for sure.
Yes, no. All I can say is the French did a thorough good thrashing to the British.
Yeah, well, in one of my previous episodes, I spoke to a guy called Robbie Roddis, and Robbie's done a lot of work and research into Peter Gilder, who was one of the original wargaming greats, and he was a massive Francophile as well. And I've had a number of stories about suspicious decisions that were made in games at the Wargames Holiday Centre that later that went on to French victories. So it's definitely a well-known disease, if you like.
yes, very much so.
Cheating
it doesn't matter anyway, because it's Dom's fault I'm a Francophile anyway, because he had the British, so I knew I was going to play him, so I had to go for the other side.
Had to go
French.
So what about you, Dom? What's your big game? What does that conjure in your mind?
I guess for me, it's similar to Ken. I guess it's a big game with lots of players, and I think predominantly comes to mind instantly when you say that is refights of big battles. I know it isn't always that, but my experiences of them are. I was lucky when I was in my 20s, 30s, playing some really big battles like refighting Waterloo, Wagram. Leipzig, with tens of thousands of figures. Yeah. I remember I used to go down to a church. I don't know who ran it. I can't remember. It's too long ago. But I used to go down to this like a scout hut kind of place down in the outskirts of Oxford, and this club would put on these massive games over an entire day, and it was just fantastic. Just seeing just wall to wall figures. So those sort of things remind me of it. Also, things like I used to play what do they call it, Kriegsmarine type games for World War II, where you had all different people in different rooms.
Oh, they're brilliant.
Playing
They're
different
brilliant.
roles of things. Oh, that was great fun. All those sort of things. So those sort of things are what I think of as a big game. And I think
there's a plan for that for CrackCon too, Dom.
Is that
me and Martin have got ideas.
Well, I was talking to Simon Hall on one of the podcasts, the writer of Meg and Field of Glory and a couple of other rule sets, and he said years and years ago they did a massive Eastern Front game, Germans versus Russians, and the commanders for each army were locked away in a room with a telephone. And that's the only contact they had. And the umpire would randomly cut them off halfway through giving an order.
I love it.
They would come out sort of every hour or 2 hours and then allowed 5 minutes look at the table, and then they were back in the command room again. So I've done a couple of games
awesome.
like that in the past, and it completely changes your perspective of a game, because you're relying on people sending you, sit reps and where they are with stuff, and they're never particularly accurate.
No, you want quality intelligence, which is never a forte.
I think you also need to have like-minded players who actually want to deal with it that way, because for some people that would just drive them insane. What do you mean I can't measure the distance between these tanks on the table?
Can I pre-measure that? No.
It's like you can't even see the damn thing, boy. So yeah, but I think that's great. But that sort of comes down to that sort of historical realism versus game ability kind of thing. We discussed this a lot on the podcast, and it's kind of that sort of the transition away in gaming seems to have moved much more into gaming rather than historical reenactment. And I think the big game things, and particularly those sort of games, seems to be right back in the old days of reenactment. Yeah, which is fantastic, but not for everybody.
No, exactly. There's a broad church, as Sean Clark says. There's lots of different ways of doing it. And I think that for me, the competition gaming is not for me. And and rolling a d6 and moving a hill. Even God would struggle to do that. But people enjoy it, and that's great. That's great for them. But obviously, different horses for courses and all that sort of thing. So that game at CrackCon, Ken, what was the thing that stuck out for you? What was the thing that you'd like to repeat about that big game experience?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would like to say the French victory, but now I think it's more the fact of when we turned up, that there was 4 of us, and we were meant to start up at 10 o'clock, so people were meant to get there at 10. No one got there at 10. Everyone got there at like 8:30.
Yeah,
and it was just no one had ever met. None of these people had ever met, but we all came together, and by the end of it, it felt like we were all best of friends. Well, we were. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just random strangers, and it was just a camaraderie of it. I think I'd love to have that again. That was brilliant. Really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and the social side, Dom, is that for the bigger game? Is that one of the draws for you?
I think to me that's what it is about all gaming. To be absolutely honest, I love the banter that goes on around the table, the sort of winding up of
Oh yeah, he loves it. The art of crushing and defeatness.
Oh, it's just that's what it's
salt
all about.
In the wound.
I just love that sort of banter that goes on. If you listen to any of my battle reports, if you've got the stamina to listen through a couple of hours of listening to them, you'll hear it all going on in the background, and that's editing out a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah, you hear the slight undertone of voices,
and the running jokes that go through the games, and the fact, and that history of every time you use that unit, it runs away, kind of thing. Yeah. I think that's, to me, is what gaming is all about. As I used to competition gaming, but I've definitely moved a long way away from that now, and it is about the social side of the game.
Do you find there's more of an edge with competition gaming because you're trying to win, aren't you, with that? Whereas I genuinely don't care what happens as long as I've had a laugh and a joke in a game.
It's a daft thing to say, but competition gaming is all about winning, right? So kind of. But I think sometimes, when I used to play, the competitions I used to love doing were the ones that were more, you wanted to win, but you had a laugh playing. So, your opponent was respectful, and it wasn't all that sort of, oh, you just move that a little bit too far, or that angle's, just nudge that, or that kind of stuff. We had a good laugh doing it. And when it got all too serious, I just didn't want to know. And I think but that's, to me, as I say, that's what makes me love going along to the club every Friday, having people around here, just planning the next game, is thinking, oh, great, we're going to have another great evening. And the result, I want to win always. Yeah. I think it's like doing a sporting thing. You want to win, but it's not the be all and end all, right? Yeah. If I get beaten and we had a fantastic night, or afternoon, then fantastic. I'm happy. As long as I beat Ken.
It's all right when you it's all right saying that until you lose for 6 months solid.
Yeah, well, we've all been through
and then
that,
you finally get that victory, and you're like, I'm going. We played. It's like we played round Dom's, and it was like we were going to call it on, like, I think it was like he had like 1.5 units left. I was like, no, I'm crushing you.
Going for the crush.
I'm going. This is going all the way. I was like, no, you're not calling it.
But even then, he said to me, "You're not enjoying this, are you?" And I said, "No, I absolutely am, because it was a great game, and actually, it was great to see him actually smashing me, because he hasn't done it for a while. So
it's been a long time coming." And
we've all had those barren spells in everything we do, right? When the games come by and you just can't, for whatever, your dice just stop working, or you just, I don't know, you just constantly do stupid things in games.
It's one of those things. This is why I really detest and hate points.
Yeah.
I cannot stand points. I like to be a bit more historical when it comes to that side of things, especially if you're you're playing a World War II game maybe, or you're playing Napoleonics. You're not meant to be evens.
Yeah.
I don't mind having the lesser forces, because it gives me something to work towards. So my victory might not be I've got to win the game. My victory might be holding off till turn 4. And if I do that in my head, I've won. And that's why I like playing more scenario based games.
So I'm still a bit competition based. I like the points.
Yeah.
I like the historic stuff as well.
Yeah.
But I do like the points as well.
So have you got any plans for doing big games in the future then?
I would love to get on with some bigger games. Talked about funny enough, I was talking with one of my mates, Jonathan, about doing a game this Friday, which will probably be quite a large one using 15 mils. But I guess it's the time element is the big game problem. It's
not now. We can just leave it set up in your little room.
Exactly, that'll be fine. I might need another bit of table though to make it even bigger. But that's definitely an option now.
We've had games that have lasted 3 or 4 weeks here.
Oh, I'd love to do that. And that would be pretty cool.
Because we'll tend to have a 10:30 start, but we'll be downstairs drinking tea, talking bollocks for a while before we come up here. And then we always break about 1 o'clock for fish and chips. And then if there's a Grand Prix on or football, then we just sometimes we only get back up here for an hour. So there's no rush, there's no pressure, which makes a huge difference. Well, thanks very much for that chat on big games, guys. We're going to move on now to everyone's favourite bit, which is the Yorkshire Gamer Quiz. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's the bit that all the viewers like and listeners like, but the guests aren't particularly keen on. It's the Yorkshire Gamer Quiz, and our usual disclaimer is that this has got absolutely nothing to do with right or wrong, so please don't get upset with any of the answers that you're about to hear. This is a tester of how Yorkshire Gamer you are, so how close to my idiotic huge battle gaming are you? And there's a warning that there are a number of regionally based questions which are dreadfully biased towards Yorkshire. So, and you know what? I don't care. So,
it's your podcast, you'll do it your way.
Yeah, it's called the Yorkshire Gamers Reet Big Wargames podcast because it comes from Yorkshire. What more can I say?
No.
Anyway, so guys, we'll do. We did this with Alex and Sean, Alex Storm of Steel and Sean God's Own Scale. We'll do one question at a time and get an answer from both of you, and then we'll do a tot up at the end and see whereabouts you are on the Yorkshire Gamer scale. So they will. It's either a yes or no answer or a one or another answer. If you need explanations, I will give them. If you want to have a laugh and a joke about any of them, please do so. That's what we're here for. So, question number 1. Go big or go home? Dom.
Go big.
Go big. Ken?
Yeah, go big.
Go big. Controversy already on question 2. Contrast paints, great or a gimmick? Ken?
Great.
Dom?
I'm going to go great too.
Oh, dear me.
Sorry about that, Ken, but I love them.
You can't please everyone, can you?
Oh, dear.
Question 3. First regionally biased question. You're choosing a paintbrush. Would you go for posh down south Windsor and Newton or Yorkshire made Pro Art? Ken?
Windsor and Newton.
Dom?
I can't say I've ever had a Pro Art, but anything that's on a discount. So does that count?
Yeah, cheaper.
Cheapest chips, whatever it is that's cheap.
I'm
I'm
hoping. I haven't approached them yet, but the factory is just outside where I used to work.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to try and blag a trip.
You should get some sponsors.
Yeah,
so
but they get mentioned
Have you got any,
every week.
You got any misprints of your paintbrushes?
So, question 4. 96 figures. Is that an army or is it a pipe block? Dom?
It's a pipe block.
It's a pipe block. It is. Ken?
It's an army.
Oh! Fighting talk. The best answer I've had for that one is it's a small pipe block. Number 5. 6x4 table. Is that a big game or a small game? Ken?
Small game.
Small game. Dom?
Yeah, definitely small game.
Staying with you, Dom, for question 6. Points-based army or historical order of battle?
Well, can I say both? I can't say both, can I? Because I like them both.
No, it's a
It's
a Yorkshire quiz, mate. You're either right or wrong.
Right.
There's no middle.
You're very much wrong with that, Dom.
I'll go points then. I'll go points then.
Oh,
I know it won't agree.
It's got to be historical
good lad, Ken.
order of battle.
More controversy coming up now. You're mixing your paints, and we're going to use a wet palette or an old bit of MDF. We'll go for Ken first.
It's got to be a wet palette.
Oh dear.
Oh, you ponce.
Windsor and Newton, and the wet palette, mate.
Dear.
Oh,
Dear me. Dom?
I got a bit of old newspaper.
Oh, awesome. That's what we like to see. People go, oh, it makes your paints last longer. I've got
the waste. All I think is the waste.
I've got paints downstairs that are 15 to 20 years old. I paint over 1,000.
They'd be in the bin. They're in the bin after a year.
I paint over 1,028mm figures a year and spend about £20 on paint.
Yeah,
I really, really don't need to save any. Thanks for the
when you put a little dollop down there, I mean, what does it matter if it dries up?
No, but it's smooth. The paint goes over smoother. It goes over smoother
doesn't.
on the wet palette. Yeah, it does.
Oh dear. Anyway.
Controversy.
I use my palette as a doorstop.
I can.
To be fair, I've seen how you paint, Ken, and I can't really talk, can I? Let's be honest.
Well, I do get people coming on and going, "Oh, it'd be so much better if you used a wet palette," and I just go,
"Cheeky gits."
It'll be so much quicker. So I'll put a picture up of a 2,000 or 3,000 figure army, and underneath, how much quicker do you want me to be? Because it really doesn't make any difference, does it? We don't like change in Yorkshire. We don't even like vowels. Alex was saying, Alex Sutherland, who's from Rotherham, good Yorkshire lad. He was saying that we don't like vowels, we chase them out of Yorkshire with a pitchfork. Anyway, we've digressed again. So we're undercoating figures. What do we use? Do we go black or white? Dom?
Well, it's going to be hard to be either of those, as I don't use either. I use grey. I use Halford's grey.
Halford's grey. Middleman. Ken?
Yeah.
Again, I use both. I was Xenophil.
No, Ponzi, but Xenophil.
Again, now Xenophil with a wet palette and a Windsor and Newton.
How have you afforded a new house with spending all that money?
Shh, we need to keep the voice down.
Don't tell anyone.
If he gets any more southern, he'll fall in the water at the bottom.
There is only one answer to this next question, question 9. And you go into a cafe and you are offered a cup of Yorkshire tea or a dirty mucky coffee. What are you having, Ken?
Ooh. Depends what mood I'm in, but I'm going to say Yorkshire tea because I am drinking a lot of tea at the moment.
Good lad. Dom?
Yeah, good old builders for me.
Awesome. War games units. As long as it's historically accurate, do you like them tightly packed or socially distanced? Ken?
Tightly packed.
Tightly packed. Awesome. Dom?
You can't get your pikemen in a socially distanced formation, can
No,
you? It's got to be packed.
No, you can't. I know it's a lot of figures, but when they're 20 feet apart, that cavalry's just going to go, there's a nice big gap there.
Yeah, go straight through there.
I'm going straight. Do you see this lance? That goes through a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's halfway through, and question 11 is 2-hour club game or a weekend monster game? Dom?
I mean, given the preference, a weekend monster game every time.
Awesome. Ken?
Same weekend monster game.
Superb. We've got a couple of questions that are in honour of former guests, and this one is in honour of Nick Skinner from Two Fat Lardies. And this is avocado. Is it just posh mushy peas? Ken?
It's bloody disgusting.
It's
That's what it is.
disgusting. Yeah, that'll do, mate. You can get a point for that.
Yes, definitely. It's
Posh mushy peas.
Posh
mushy
mushy peas.
Now, this is the only question that every single guest has answered the same way. So there's a bit of pressure on you here.
Oh, dear.
And this is round dice, spherical dice, like a sphere. Are they allowed or banned on your table? Dom? Banned. Ken?
Dependent. No, they're banned. They're banned.
Banned.
It's fine. They're
Brilliant.
They're banned.
They just roll off the end. So what's the point of that?
People have got them. And somebody a couple of weeks ago sent me a picture of a dice within a dice. So you have like a perspex outer dice, and then another dice inside that.
I even object to dice towers. I mean, there's a guy down our club who insists on bringing a dice tower along when we play games, and it drives me insane.
Well, they always get stuck, don't they? You put.
Do you know what? I'm really happy I know that now because I am getting a dice tower.
You have to compete with Graham.
Well,
yeah.
I bought these are some of the coolest dice shakers you'll ever see. Obviously we're on a podcast, so you can't really see. But just showing you these guys here. It's a wooden
barrel. Yeah.
Barrel,
I like that.
and it's made from the teak of HMS Warspite.
Now that is cool.
Wow, now that's very cool.
Yeah, and we've got what have we got? That one is HMS Iron Duke from Jutland.
Oh, very cool.
So they're on the internet. You can pick them up for like 20 or 30 quid. But the dice always get stuck in the bottom.
Right.
So you'll like put 5 dice in and you'll roll it, and then I'm not doing very well there. But only actually 3 dice have come out. So then next time you'll put another 5 dice in for that roll, and only a couple will come out. But you're not really noticing because you're playing your game and talking. And then it'll come to a really important melee, and you'll put your 5 dice in, and 15 come out.
There's no arguing because you should have had them dice earlier.
Exactly.
Don't tell Ken that one. He'll find a way of working that one into a game. Jesus.
Yeah. I've never understood dice towers because the stuff gets stuck in them, don't they?
just know.
Yeah,
Just know.
No, exactly. Right. So you're not too far south to not know what a fish and chip shop is. Though
Oh, I knew something like this was going to come
it'll
up.
be shit fish and chips down there. But
It-
you're going down to the chippy. Do you have haddock or cod? Ken.
Ooh, haddock.
Haddock. Dom.
Cod.
Cod.
If you can get it, cod. Yeah.
I'll tell you something, right? I've got a mate from up Rotherham, and he came down here, and he said to me, and I was with him, and I quote, "Where's the gravy?"
Yeah.
And I said, "What do you mean? Where's the gravy?" He went, "Why is there gravy not on the menu?" I said, "We don't have gravy down here in chip shop."
That's unbelievable.
I said, "That is really weird that you put gravy on your chips." I was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Baked beans, yes, gravy." And he looked at me like with the most disgusted look that you'd ever seen. He was like, "So I can't have any gravy?" I went, "No."
Half of northern school children would die of starvation without gravy. Because we go when I was at school, we would always go to the chippy for lunch, and we would always get a chip batch or chip on a bread roll or whatever you call it down there. But you could have a choice of gravy, curry, or peas. Or if mum had slipped you an extra 10p, you could get all three. So you could have like chip batch with gravy, peas, and curry, and it was just heaven.
Oh, that's
Beautiful thing.
Heaven.
No.
Beautiful. I went to Leeds and I went to university in Leeds, so I have a fond feeling for that area and the culinary delights of Yorkshire.
Dom very much enjoys gravy.
Oh, we
love a bit of gravy.
Love a bit of gravy. Question 15, and this is about sets of rules. And do you like a good table in a set of rules, like a casualty table where you roll dice against figures, or is it all or is it 6 and you're dead? Which do you prefer, Ken?
It's got to be a table. I love a table.
Love a table.
He loves a table.
Love a table. Love a table.
Loves a table.
Dom?
Yeah. I guess I'm not really that bothered, but if it's a good rule set, but I probably would in favour a table over anything else. Yeah, D6 thing is a bit weird.
Controversial one that will get us into trouble somewhere along the line. 28mm is king. Yes or no?
Yes.
Dom, yeah. You're not going.
No.
You're not going for 12.75.
You're not
32 millimeter.
Rubbish.
28mm is not king.
It's not
no.
king. It's not king.
Nope.
No.
You're wrong.
You're right.
No. It's like. Is there a question on varnish? Because there's only one right answer about that.
Oh God! Don't start that one. Don't start that one.
We don't do technical stuff like varnishing.
No. Our friends the Perrys have got the correct answer for that.
Oh, go on. What's theirs?
They do not varnish. Either do I. I hate
And the moment Ken discovered this on one of our podcasts when they were on, he's never stopped going on about it because up to that point we all said he's wrong. You varnish your figures, and then the Perrys came on and said they don't varnish his, and he went, "There you go, that's proof."
There you go.
Brilliant.
There's proof. I'm right, and
still
I made a
running
meme there and then.
I have to say that some I tend to varnish, but sometimes I don't varnish stuff that's dry brush because it ruins the detail.
Yeah.
But
that's why I don't varnish.
The stuff that I'm doing at the moment, I've got plastic Perry ACW Zouaves and metal heads from a company called Steve Barber Models, and the paint doesn't adhere very well to the metal heads, so I will definitely be varnishing them. And I always use a really matte varnish, so I never varnish armour because it just makes it look
ruins it, doesn't it?
Absolutely makes it look dreadful. So question 17: unpainted miniatures, are they allowed on the table? Yes or no, Ken?
No.
Dom?
Only one acceptable occasion when you can do that is when you've got a complete beginner and you want to encourage them into the hobby. Other than that, it's flat no.
Now I'll give them some of my minis to play
with. Three questions left, and if you know anything about me, you'll know there's only one answer to this question, and this is Bradford City or Leeds United. As he holds his Bradford City badge to the camera.
I was going to say there's only one answer with that shirt on. Bradford, of course.
Good lad. Ken?
Bradford.
Oh, good lad. There's only one answer to the next question as well, and that is Yorkshire or the other place over the hill?
Oh.
Gotta be Yarkshire.
Yeah, Yorkshire. Good lad. Ken?
I'm going to have to say the other place over the hill because the wars of the roses. I'm very much the other place over the hill.
Dear me.
You've done so well, Ken.
Is that minus 60 points? Is it?
Yeah, when Simon Hall was on, who's from Preston Burnley way, we spent the whole 2 hours trying not to say the L word.
It's a beauty. Yeah, very, very. I'm very much that. I'm doing it out of respect. I'm not mentioning it for you, but I'm very much that side of camp when it comes to the Wars of the Roses.
Yeah, it's still raw in these parts. It's still raw. And the final question: Games Workshop, are they the work of the devil? Yes or no? Dom.
Yes.
There's no hesitation. It was just
Yep.
Yeah, no.
In fairness, they do bring a lot of people into the hobby, but I still think they are.
Yeah. Ken?
I'm going to say controversially no.
Ooh.
If they get any more expensive, if they get any more expensive in the next year, then maybe I'll have to change my answer. But I think they're just on the borderline at the moment.
Well, the average is 70%, and Dom, no surprises, as the slightly older gamer, very similar thoughts to me. 80%, very well done, very well
fantastic.
done. And particularly impressed with the old bit of newspaper rather than old bit of MDF. That's particularly good.
Don't tell me Ken's got to do a reset, has he?
Yeah, no, Ken's just coming just under the average at 60%, which is very, very reasonable. Very, very reasonable. We do need to, though, Ken, speak privately about your Winsor & Newton wet palette, some fancy bollocks bloody undercoat thing that you're using. How much?
Zenithal highlight.
How much are you paying for that?
He's probably blagged it from somewhere, Ken. Don't worry.
What, my Zenithal highlight? No, it's just a black in it and then white over the top.
Black white over the top.
With my airbrush.
Right.
Don't forget about the airbrush.
Yeah, no. I do have an airbrush and I have done bits with it. So yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
No, that's what I mean. I use black and white technically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not too bad. So, a section that's not been in for that long on the show, but has proved both controversial and fun at the same time, which is kind of what we're all about, is Room 101, the Wargames Room 101. And Dom, I think you'll remember. Ken, do you remember Room 101 on television?
Nope.
No. It was
no idea.
It was basically a panel show, and Room 101 comes from George Orwell's 1984, and it was a room in which was the most horrible thing that you could possibly imagine. And the television show, basically, they had a presenter and a number of guests, and they would try and get the things that they hated into Room 101. Right. So Wargames Room 101 is exactly the same as that. I want you to imagine something in wargaming that you can't stand, that you'd like to shove on the back of your trailer and take it down the Wargames tip on a Saturday afternoon and get rid of it. Get rid of it. So we have had a few on before, but I don't know. Hopefully you'll have a new one. Let's see what we've got. So Dom, do you want to go first, mate? What's your entry into Room 101?
I'm going to go button counters.
Counters.
They frustrate the hell out. So, first of all, I'm going to say I'm all for historical accuracy in your figures, right?
Especially badges.
Apart from badges,
badges.
But when you get down to the level of some people get to where they're starting to, the cut of that jacket wasn't in that period. Oh, they'd phase that out 5 years before. All that kind of bollocks. That drives me insane, and I really want to slap them over the head with my toolbox of figures. I just think it when you come down to it, you think about what a battlefield would have looked like and how they would have grabbed any kind of equipment they could get their hands on. They would have been covered in mud and crap. If they had any shoes left, any kind of trousers left, they were doing really, really well. So then we're worried about the fact that
What are you
They're
talking
wearing
about,
just
Dom? They would have worn
slightly wrong.
pristine uniforms. And
Yeah,
they would have all been the same colour.
I know.
You know, perfectly the same. And he would have definitely not used that grey button when it should quite easily be used.
Yeah, you see all these comments
No,
on
no, no,
various
sir.
forums. It's like, so what colour blue did the French infantry use? Well, probably whatever
Blue.
whatever blue they can get their hands on. If it stayed blue for a fortnight, they were doing well. Yeah, so that drives me insane because I think, in all seriousness, I think it puts people off the hobby when you get, especially people coming into the historical side of the hobby from other sides, and they go along to a club or a convention, or they put it up, heaven forbid they put it up on certain Facebook pages and say, look at this beautiful job I've done. And they just get absolutely slammed for it.
I might have done that a few times and put my stuff up and it gets slammed.
Yeah, but you do it on purpose just to really wind people up. I know you do, but other people aren't quite as thick-skinned as you, and that's not right.
Well,
button counters.
Yeah, I have to confess that there is a number of occasions when, especially you wear the forum TMP, and how things can very quickly go wrong on there very quickly. Well, I used to. Have you not? Oh my god!
No, this sounds like a forum that I need to be involved with.
Oh my god! I think everyone who's anyone in the Wargames fraternity has been banned or removed from it at some stage during the career. But it seems to be a concentration of the world's highest number of button counters and rivet counters.
Oh, completely.
So this sounds interesting.
So what I've done in the past is I've done things like glue machine guns on upside down on tanks deliberately.
Oh yes. You know what? I might stick one of my contrasting painting guides on there.
Oh, you'll get them all wound up there.
And the army I'm doing at the moment, I thought nobody would know anything about it, but I've had quite a lot of niggly comments from people about stuff, and it's anyway. Button counters are loaded up onto the back of my trailer and they're ready to go down the tip. So let's see, Ken. I take it you're not going to defend button counters, Ken. You're quite happy for them to.
No, I'm very much in that camp. I remember one of my first videos. It was like I was doing like I think it was like Americans or something like that, and they told me my shade of brown was. I think it was. I can't remember the exact words they used, but it was a tad too dark.
Yeah,
it should have been a little bit lighter. And I was like, right, okay. And your point is, they're my figures. Well, I'll do what I want with them, sort of thing. I just can't understand why someone would waste their energy in typing it out.
There's a really famous photograph that you might have seen of a guy who's collected World War II German uniforms.
They're all. Which one's the real field grey?
Yeah, and they're all completely different. They're all completely different.
Love it.
Yeah. So Ken, what are you going to try and get past the gatekeeper?
Dom's not going to like it.
Oh gosh,
Dom's not going to like it. It's got to be points. They've got to go. Points. They've got to go. They've got to get down that tip. I hate points.
The next time you come in this room, it's going to be points all the way.
I hate points with a passion.
So this has come up before a little bit with Alex Sutherland, but he was very specific in that it was maxing out point lists.
Oh no, it's just points.
Just points
I hate
in
points.
General.
Points. I hate points. Points. Get rid of them. I hate points. I cannot stand it.
So the counter argument, and I have to say, I've never played a points game in my entire life. And I'm in my mid-50s, so that's a long time with not playing a points game. But some people will say that it's a good way to balance a game. So what would you say to that?
That would be my argument.
War's not balanced.
Oh, good lad. Good lad.
See, my argument comes from the fact that for many, many years, I had so little time to game that when I went down the club or met up with mates to have a game, if you played a game where it was completely unbalanced because sometimes you get those games wrong, right? You think, this can hold on for a while. But if you only have one game a week or one game a fortnight or one game a month, you want to have a bit of a laugh. So I kind of got into the habit of just at least getting some semblance of points. And it doesn't have to be even points, but it'll be, like, well, this is an attack game, so I'll give the attacking side 75% more points,
No.
for instance.
That's fair enough, but you're
that's
wrong.
my way of doing it.
You're very wrong, but you're fair enough.
Well, because the example I always use, and Dom, if you've got this, then points isn't going in. So what I want is a photograph or a video of Alexander the Great riding up to Darius, one of the massive battles, and going, Darius, mate, you're taking a piss there with them elephants. What's going on, mate? And then Darius.
Yeah, but he would argue back that your companion cavalry are worth about 15 points more than my
Exactly
my median cavalry. So therefore, it's about right.
Yeah, Jesus, it's just making me angry thinking about points.
Darius, look at them pike blocks. They're worth a fortune. Them.
Yeah, geez,
I bet the veteran and heavy armor as well. Oh.
Do you know the worst thing for me is World War II points games. I can't stand them. I hate World War II points games as well. Bolt action as well. It's just I get you do even if you want to have a fair chance of winning, but I guess it's because I don't care if I win or lose. Yeah. Really, really down to it. I really don't care. If I have fun doing something, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I will play games, and I do play games where there's no points involved. But I do like points games as well. So
you do like points.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say no.
No. It's my podcast, my trailer, my tip.
So you're putting it in.
My tip. It's coming with me. So we will have a quick break there, and then we'll go on to our big topic. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the room, and we're on to our big topic section. And back at the start, if you remember that far ago, there we were talking about what these guys have come to be known for, and that is the Plastic Crack podcast. It's been going for a while, and I've got a few bits and pieces to talk about. But I think first, before we dip into the PCP world, you've both got your own YouTube channels. So just tell us what they're called and kind of how you got started on the YouTube. Ken, do you want to go first?
Yep. So my channel's called Miniature Wargaming Warriors, and I started it 3 years ago now, coming up to 3 years. And it was just more the fact of I had a bit of a scare, so I had a heart condition, and I needed something for like a outreach sort of thing. It kind of provided that. It kind of distracted me and helped with my recovery and stuff like that. Thankfully now my heart's back to normal and I don't have that condition anymore, which is really good. But it's made me want to keep a record of my gaming and how I've developed over the years, and it's just a journey for people to join me on.
So what sort of things do you put on there? Have you got a signature dish, or what's the sort of thing that you do?
No, it depends. It's the flavour of what I'm doing at the time. So started off with World War II sort of stuff on there, bolt action. I've done a bit of 40k, a bit of epic, 30k. Napoleonics is on there. I've got some medieval. It's a bit of everything really, but I do like battle reports, painting guides. I do a bit of news. What's going on in a bit of hype train news.
Yeah. A few controversial reviews of figures, that sort of thing.
Yeah, controversial reviews of figures, absolutely. Most definitely. And it's a bit of everything really. Don't think there's anything I really don't touch. Apart from points games, but yeah.
You play bolt actions. That's that.
Yeah, I know. There you go.
Oh, you used to play bolt action.
Yeah, I used to play bolt action until Dom absolutely annihilated me. But yeah, no, that's my channel.
That's your channel. Dom, what about yourself?
So I started in December 2018 doing the channel, and it's Boots on the Table with Dom. And I guess, sort of. Funny enough, when I wasn't gaming much around that time, I was playing a lot of online games, and I liked a game called World of Tanks.
Oh yes,
and I had a channel for that, and I used to put up game reports and do reviews and all sorts of things on that, and got quite a few subs and what have you. And then I sort of got bored and got back into proper gaming. And I thought, you know what, I'll start videoing what I'm doing. You know, somebody might watch it. And that's all it is. It literally is what I'm doing. As we talked about earlier, we go down the club and I'll video games down there, and it can be anything from English Civil War, American Civil War, Napoleonics, Ancients, bigger games, smaller games, whatever we are playing, I'll record. And similarly to Ken, really, I do kind of project updates, what I've been painting. Sometimes sort of because I have been known to purchase a few figures or do sort of some of those, that kind of stuff. So it is literally my wargaming journey as I'm going through it, and it's the chronicle of that, and I do it purely for that reason. It's just, as much as anything else, it's to remind me, because I'm getting old as well, so I can't remember half the things I've been doing, so it's looking back and remembering things. So
I've got to say, so with the monthly updates that I do, I can go back and go, bollocks, what was I painting last month?
Exactly. I can't remember.
It's very handy when you do a project and you look back and how did I do that paint scheme?
Yeah, that's a really good use.
That's very true.
And it's there. It's your own tutorial. So when you start shouting at yourself, thinking, why are you doing it like that? And you're like, oops. So that was kind of my fault.
Well, I paint horses with oils, and I do huge batches of them in one go. And it just reminds me of how long some stuff has been lying around with painted horses and unpainted riders. I'll go back and go, oh, shit, I painted those horses about 2.5 years ago. I've still I've got boxes lying around in the other room. There's another room next to this.
Still not got riders for it.
The riders are just undercoated in the box next to the painted horses. We'll get there in the end. How long would you say the Wargames channel thing has been around on YouTube? Historical, because I know 40k and that sort of stuff has been around for quite a while. But when I started, Dom, I seem to remember that your channel was one of the first ones I came across.
So there's been, I mean, if you look at Fraser's channel, Vettering and Travis on various other channels have been going for quite a long time, but I don't think there were that many. I feel that there's been if there's one slight good thing that came out of the whole COVID lockdown thing, has been a complete boon of historical, particularly, well, generally a lot more stuff on YouTube, particularly historical things. And it feels like that was a real sort of Kickstarter for a lot of people to start to follow it. You know, people saw other people doing videos and went, oh, you know what, I can do that too. Yeah. And they started doing it. And I think there were a few around, but not that many. Definitely not the same number there is now. Yeah. And it's been great from that point of view, because I think the community that's developed around the channels and people putting their own channels and then working with other people and linking up on Facebook and Discords and various other things, it's been fantastic. So it's great, because I think historical has always been that poor relation when it comes to social media particularly. It's almost been sort of sometimes a little apologetic. It's just been that odd bit of the hobby, you know, that nobody talks about. Whereas now we're out there being proud.
Yeah, we are. I have to say, because that's what when I talked to VK on here. I said the one thing I love about his channel is there's no rock music and explosions and everything. No. He just leans to the camera, sits back and goes, look at this shit that I've got. It's awesome.
yeah, exactly. And it's a certain degree of voyeurism, isn't it, from all of us to watch each other's projects and go, oh, look at them.
It infuses you, doesn't it? It makes you go, I want to do that. Completely. And then you see his paint job and you think, what?
I can't do that. So.
Yeah.
No, he's a lovely guy. He really is a lovely guy.
He is a nice guy. Yeah, he really is.
So are the channels continuing to grow? Is there a spike in your membership numbers, or how does it just steady away all the time?
Mine spiked with certain subjects. Mine took a massive spike in December.
Why was that?
Why was that then, Ken?
I have no idea.
Was it an epic spike?
Oh,
it was
an epic spike.
I literally hit 3,000 subscribers yesterday. So
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, very happy. So it went up by about, I think it was 350 in 2 weeks. Which was very good, which I'm very happy about. And hopefully people stay. If they don't stay, they don't stay. But I appreciate everyone that takes the time to hit that subscribe button.
And do you guys monitorize? Is that what they say?
Yes, yeah. Forced to. To be fair, we were all forced to by YouTube.
Yeah.
Because YouTube changed their terms of service about a year ago to say that even though you're not monetized, they're still going to run ads on your videos.
Ah, right. Okay.
And they'll take all the money from it.
Bastards.
Yeah.
So we all went, oh, right, we might as well do it then.
So I tend to only put videos on the start adverts on the start of my videos.
Yeah.
I don't do them in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I find that really annoying when you're in the middle of watching a video and when you get like 10 adverts over an hour period, it drives me insane. You might as well be watching telly.
Yeah, I think we all did at the same time. And I think, I had this vision that maybe if I managed to make any money out of it, could you give it away as, competitions or what have you. But as you know, if you've ever done it, you don't actually make very much money. So it's peanuts. It really is. So
unless you're Martin's seventh son.
Well, yeah, unless
he seems to do very well.
Does he?
He does do quite well. You can look up how much he's made if you want to look it up.
Right.
You can look at anybody's earnings. No, he does quite well because it depends on the content you got, doesn't it? So if you're getting those videos that, like the painting guys that people keep going back and watching again and again and again, they're getting the advert every time, and new people are obviously watching those again and again and again and again. So it's not much. I think I made, how much did I make last month? I think it's about £30.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Bit,
but YouTube have got like a cash out. I think it's, what is it, Dom? Is it 60?
60, I think you have to.
Yeah, so you got to have £60 in the credit, and then they pay you on like the 21st.
Yeah.
But it just goes back into the hobby.
Oh, right. That's not bad. Not bad at all.
It's not. You're not going to retire on it, that's for sure.
No.
But it's. But I do think from if you really want to grow the channel, Martin's been great at this. Is focusing on one or two things and doing them really well. I think that if you scattergun around the place, then you don't do anywhere near as well, which I do all the time.
When you mention Wars of the Roses, the first person that comes to your head in Wargaming is mine. That's what comes to my head if you mention Wars of the Roses.
Yeah, I've kind of found that with the new project that I'm doing now, is that I've got loads and loads of stuff. If I do anything Italian Wars, loads of people are all over it. But with the new project, when it first started, hardly anything. And then it's slowly building up and again. It's like, all the
people who subscribe to you follow you because of the Italian Wars. And so it takes a while for people to switch over. So it's, I think that's the nature of it. It's like, if you look at your algorithms, you see spikes on certain topics and certain things that you can follow. And you think, well, if you really wanted to make money or try and make some proper money or increase the scope of the channel, you just go, all right, I'm just going to do that because that's the one that's driving.
Just do controversial videos.
That's missing the point, really, for me.
I've tried with this podcast to get people on who maybe hadn't necessarily been on a podcast before, or because you can have the Wargames Glitterati and get them on and get loads of people in. It's X, Y, and Z. But then when I got Nick Skinner on from the Two Fat Lardies, I deliberately spoke to him about his most unpopular set of rules. But there was a good reason behind that, because it was about World War I and Mesopotamia and Palestine, and we both have relatives who fought in that conflict. There was a reason why. But I can't see me selling my soul to the devil and growing massive channel. Not before I get myself into trouble about something anyway. How then did your individual channels merge and form the bastard child that is PCP?
How did two become one?
It was Ken's fault, really.
It was. I was doing my how do I make my channel bigger?
So Ken had this massive vision that he was going to be retiring in another couple of years and was going to go professional wargaming channel.
Yeah.
And so I think you were reaching out to all sorts of people and saying, we should do some kind of liaison or collaboration. And he pinged me and I had been watching some of the videos, so I did know who he was.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay. So I remember having the chat with him and saying, what the heck are we going to do? And he said, well, we could do a stream. And I went, well, nobody's going to watch that. But we decided we'd never give it a go. And that was kind of how it all took off. Initially, it was just the two of us.
Yeah.
And then it was a lot of hard work. Just, it was I don't know why we set on 2 hours, but we did. And and it was like, oh my goodness, 2 hours every week trying to do
content
with just two of us was really hard work. Yeah. And so I said, well, come on, just get a couple of other people in. And so initially we just had sort of odd, Leon T66 joined. There were a couple of other people came on, over time nobody could commit to doing every Monday night, even though it was all through the lockdowns, and that was really what started it, the lockdowns. And we said we can't game face to face anymore, so what can we do to sort of bring the community together and have a bit of a laugh? And that was really what started it. And then I've been watching Martin's stuff. I don't think he'd been started that long.
No, because I hadn't seen any of his stuff at the time. No,
so I pinged Ken and said, what about this guy? He looks like he's doing some really... And he was doing different things to us. So that was the point. At the time, Ken was doing a lot of bolt action. I was doing a lot of Napoleonics. And then Martin was doing medieval stuff and Napoleonics as well. And then I thought, well, we need someone to do a bit more sort of Second World War-y, who's good at modelling stuff. And I was watching Steve on Point HQ. And so I said, what about him? So we approached them both, and they came on just to try it out, and they never left. We couldn't get rid of them.
Yeah, I know.
That's the problem.
Like a bad smell. Yeah. Somebody's put a kipper down the back of the sofa and you just can't find it. The smell won't go away.
Yeah, ridiculous.
They had for a very long time, didn't they? Do you remember? Martin kept ramming it down our throats that me and Don went on holiday and they had the best viewing numbers that week. He was ramming that down our throat for about a year, and then we did it, didn't we? I was like,
then we smashed them again. So
yeah.
So that was it, really. So it was just literally just us having a. So how can we build it? And
what was the thing? What was the thing that made you go from two mates or two people having a chat to two people having a chat and streaming it? What was the drive there?
We just never talked, have we? Me and Dom had never talked before that. We'd physically never talked. The first time we spoke was half an hour before our first stream.
Bloody hell.
That was it.
Literally.
We agreed, we were talking in email.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we agreed we would go live on a Monday night, both our channels separately, because we both streamed it at the same time, because we didn't know about all the StreamYard stuff and about that back then.
Nope.
So we thought we'd stream it both. It would help each other out, might get some different viewers, and we would just see how it went, and it worked.
I think I even scripted a lot of it initially, so doing questions that we could ask each other.
That was it. We used to have Peter Little's question of the week, didn't we?
That's right.
Yes, I remember question of the week. Yeah,
we used to have question of the week.
I feel very sorry. I feel very sorry for Peter, because he sent me a question for yesterday's show, and
did he?
We went so long. We went so long last night that I forgot to. I didn't forget. We didn't have time to do it, so we'll have to do it next time. Sorry, Peter.
Yes,
but I mean, we did sort of we did script it, but I think it was the COVID thing that really made it happen, because literally we were just going.
Saw nobody, did we?
We saw nobody. Nobody was going out meeting anybody anywhere, and we just thought this is a good way to chat. And I think that's really what
interacting with other war gamers, wasn't it? That was the other thing. Was we obviously, when we first started off, we might have only had like 10-15 people, so we could we were getting fluid chat going. You can watch the original episodes, you go back and watch it. But you can you can see the chat, and you can see us replying to as much, near enough replying to everything and every chat. And that's the problem we found now, is where we get over 100 people at an episode, it's really hard to keep up with the chat, because it just goes like this. It goes straight through.
Well, these individual, because I'm in that chat. These individual side conversations going on there all the time.
Yeah, and it's picking through it when you're streaming. You're looking at it and you're reading it. You're thinking, why has someone just mentioned a kebab or something like that?
It's trying to work out what is conversations that everybody else is having as a community amongst themselves, and what is it we want to call out. Because I said to the guys when we were doing it, I said, which was one of the drivers why we moved from doing individually, because initially when Martin and Steve joined, we were each doing to each of our own channels.
Right.
Channels. Yeah.
But it got to the point where there were so many people in chat that we couldn't moderate it, and
Yeah.
so we said,
and they're all spread out as well.
So each channel had its own chat.
Exactly.
Yeah, so each channel had its own chat, so people weren't understanding what was going on in my chat to say what was going on in Martin's chat or what was going on in Dom's chat. It was just a bit confusing.
So we said, let's bring it all together. One of us host it, in which means somebody can moderate it while they're hosting it that week.
The others can paint.
And it also means we can interact more with the audience, because if one of us is watching the chat, talking, bringing bits up, because I don't know about you, when I sit and watch people's streams, what I like is when they do actually talk with the chat. They'll bring in comments from people and you feel like you're involved. Even though you're watching, you're involved in it. And that's what I was really keen we did. And I think it works really well now, even though, as you say, at times the chat goes absolutely bananas and you can't keep it. It's really hard to keep up with.
So on your show, you kind of bring some of the chat onto screen. Is that something that everyone has control over, or is it just the person?
Yeah.
It's not just the person.
All of us.
Because I thought there might be a bit of bullying going on. If it was just you who had the control, then everything that was pro Ken that week would go off.
Yeah.
No, there's never anything pro Ken anyway, so it's all fine.
There's never anything pro me, no.
The four of us can do it.
Yeah.
So, but in practice, because one of us is always... So we try and make sure one of us is watching what's going on. Whereas if you look, the rest of us are generally doing some kind of hobby stuff. So we tend to have our heads down a bit more.
If you see a comment that's been skipped on purpose because it's taken the piss out of one of us,
somebody will pick it up.
Someone will pick it up.
Someone will find it.
And someone will click and go, oh, look at this, Dom.
Yeah.
What's this about 6 mil samurai? Oh, I didn't bring that up, did I?
Yeah. No, you had to go there, Ken.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, that's what it's become. It's just been, four of us. As I say, Ken said, I mean, me and Ken met a few times when we were able to. He came up here and gamed, and then he joined the club. And then you went out to see Martin a couple of times. But up until we did our face-to-face meetup in Derby last year, Martin and me and Steve had never met. Never met at all. And we'd done countless episodes, and consider them really good mates, and I still do, even after crack on. We had a right old laugh, and it's just the weirdest thing that it's just four blokes talking about their hobby, having a laugh. Bit like somebody said to me, it's like going down the pub after the game, and the conversation that goes on around the table, and that's kind of what we try and make it. And
but it's kind of built into a decent community as well.
It's a bit of a cult, is the word I like to use. Led by Brother Ken.
Some people have changed the lettering cult, but
in all seriousness, Ken, that's one of the things I think has been the most satisfying thing about the whole thing. And it wasn't what we intended. I mean, so Ken and I talked about it and, said given lockdowns, it'd be nice to have some sort of interaction with people.
Yeah, we did it originally, wouldn't it? For people that may not have been able to speak to anyone because they didn't, they were self-isolating because they had like health conditions and, they couldn't go out at all and speak to anybody. And it was just like, that's why we done it.
But it's been very satisfying, hasn't it? The kind of feedback we got from people continue to get. In fact, somebody today pinged me about something and just said, thanks so much for, it's really brought me out of a dark place. And I think, and that makes, because I know there's a lot of gamers struggle with mental health problems, and a lot of people generally do, but gamers as well. And it's been really quite a weird sort of trade-off from the show, I guess, that I don't think we really expected, but just how much people have really enjoyed the community it's built, the interaction.
It was crazy at CrackCon, wasn't it? It was crazy at CrackCon, people talking to us and saying thank you for everything, and and especially at shows as well. Me and Martin went to you went to Salute and we went to Warfare, but at Warfare, me and Martin were getting stopped every couple of minutes. Couldn't believe it. We were like. And all we're thinking is we're just talking to each other on the internet.
It's just four blokes talking about gaming, but if people love it, I mean, that's the beauty of it. And the community has been fantastic. I absolutely love the guys we have in the community. The regulars we get coming on, watching, those who watch the follow-up stuff, and the Facebook members as well. It's just been brilliant. So
no, it is really good. No, I was unfortunate in that I was really ill at the start of last year for about 2 or 3 months, and it was like having 4 mates around having a chat about wargaming. I'd be sat on the sofa with me blanket around me, feeling sorry for myself, and then all right,
poor idiots pop on the screen.
These idiots are on. Right, let's have a laugh, and it would get me painting again. So it was really really good, and I enjoy the banter and the laugh and the joke in there, because wargaming for some people, like we talked about earlier on with the button counters and etc., can be a very very serious thing, and I don't think it is. But that's just the way I game. There's nothing wrong with being serious. So no, it's definitely filled a gap.
We do feel quite unique like that, don't we? It is we do click very well, and it just works.
I say a few people have tried similar things, and it's never worked. It's like you might not have listened to them, but I do like a sub podcast called Brews in the Binyard with Alex and Sean, and the three of us together works really well. So I'm going to do like a Christmas and summer special every year with those guys, and you've got that same mix of personalities that kind of make it work. So
I think that's the thing. It's the people who are involved, isn't it? It's just you can't force that to happen. It's just whether or not
it has to be natural chemistry.
You could all just be sat there with your heads down painting.
Yeah, it could be the most boring thing in the entire world, couldn't it? Just everyone or somebody just dominating the whole thing.
It's just that sly comment that just comes out, like the 6 mil samurai with Dom just a minute ago. Not mentioning it again, of course.
Hunched down, going, "Are you using a wet palette, you bastard?" It's just not very entertaining, is it? But but there's going back to those early shows. I probably started watching about 7 or 8, I have to say.
You are an original.
I never really got involved in the chat thing because I never really understood it until recently. But I'm on there fairly regularly now. But a couple of things going back to those early episodes. Episode 1 isn't on the replay stuff. And I just...
Is it not?
No, I don't think it's not.
Oh, you know why? Because it's called I think it was called a Monday Night Ramble.
Right. Yes, we used to call them the Rambles, didn't we?
Yeah, we used to call them the Rambles. Yeah. So I will have a look back because it's definitely on my channel. Yeah. It's definitely there.
Right.
I will make sure it's in there.
On my figure collection, I'm not deleted anything. Everything's still on the channel.
Yeah, everything.
Good or bad,
I'll have to look through because I keep meaning to go back and update the thumbnails.
Yeah.
Obviously, because people are going back now and watching them, and I can see they're going back and watching them because the view count's going up on them. So I will probably go back and change.
There was a couple of things before tonight's episode I just wanted to have a quick check on, and I went back today, and there's somebody's blocked them all together as like season 1, season 2, etc.
Yeah, that's on mine.
At the start of season 1, there isn't an episode 1, so I wondered whether it was that controversial that you
no, you haven't missed something. Don't worry. No, I think we did call it something different. I think it's Ken's fault that we changed it to the Plastic Crack podcast. I think when we changed to doing it as one channel, didn't we? I think that was when we changed the name, or was it before?
Yeah, because that's it. It was called a Hobby Talk with Ken and Dom.
There we go.
There you go. That's a scintillating title, isn't it? Jeez.
Oh my God, I've just clicked the video. My goodness me. That was on a Skype. They were using Skype then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
How technology's... I mean, this always amazes me, the technology we're using now, especially when, I've spoke to people in South Africa, in America, in Australia, and it's just like a phone call. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Well, that's the other thing with the podcast that constantly amazes me. You know, we get people from Australia, from America, from all around Europe coming on, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's suddenly they're as much part of the friendship group, if you like, the community that we have. It's bizarre. It's one of the lovely things about the community and being able to talk, and the sort of these sort of channels are fantastic for it. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, definitely.
And just going back to those early episodes as well, and before I ring the police and put a missing person report in, we all out in Wargaming land want to know what happened to the equivalent of Pete Best, the fifth Beatle. Whatever happened to Liam, Gumbo Liam?
Oh, Gumbo Liam. Oh, right. No, I haven't. I never killed him.
Yeah,
Dave,
well, I was going to say, there's that
He's-
body-shaped box just behind you, Ken. I just wondered.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I still work with Liam.
Yeah.
We still work for the same company. He does a different job
Yeah.
now. But he had other commitments that he couldn't commit to every Monday.
Right.
That was what it was. Is he's got family, and he just couldn't commit to the month. Yeah, geez Louise, yeah, I remember those. The early
Yeah,
episodes.
because that
yeah, he was
like
in
the
there.
first, I think it's in like the first 12 or something
I
like
think
that.
he was something like that.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah,
And that's always been the
Yeah.
biggest thing, I think, was fun. I say we had Leon T66 and we had a couple of other folks on it, and it was just having people who could commit to doing it on a regular basis. And it was, if you've got a job that involves shifts or you've got family or what have you, it's hard to do that. And
yeah, because we were both on call at the time, me and Liam, and we did different weeks. So he would have been, he probably would have got called. He was getting called out more than I was, for example, on a Monday. Because I still get it now, don't I? That I might disappear because if I'm on call.
he has done one show from a lay-by in his van.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Dedication to the cause or what? Right?
No, we were just a little bit worried about Liam, and we wanted to make sure that it was all right.
No, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. He is alive and well. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant! So, who decided on the 2 hour limit? I mean, I know it's not, because I thought it might be a technical thing, or is it just a
No, we could have kept going.
Yeah.
Our original ones were 2 hours, weren't they? Done, I think.
They were. We started off doing 2 hours from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was more the fact I didn't think an hour was enough to really cram. I thought it felt like it would be too crammed. I thought anything over 2 would be too long. It just feels like it's the right sort of time. It's like it's the length of like a feature film.
Yeah.
People can sit down and watch it and enjoy, and it gives you enough entertainment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think originally the concept was as well that people would sit and paint. We'd sit and paint and do stuff. And realistically, you don't tend to get everything out for an hour's painting, do you? You tend to do a couple of hours as a stretch. Most people, anyway. So I don't know. Just 2 hours seemed right. At times I remember thinking, geez, how the hell are we going to fill 2 hours with this? And nowadays we do them. And like last night when I had 2 hours, we could have gone 2 hours, 3 hours quite easily last night. Yeah. Sometimes it just flows.
Yeah, I've not that I'm picking on you guys, but recently they have started to like drift 210, 215.
A little bit. Yeah.
I know. Last night I was disgraceful, wasn't it?
It was. No. We went 2 hours 8, I think.
I know.
It was.
Dear, Dom. Yes.
I know. I was driving. It was my fault last night. So it just sometimes. I mean, it's funny because you'll find it as well, Ken. I'm sure you have your things you want to get in. So we have our, kind of update on what we've been doing for the week. A little bit of banter about some of the stuff we've been up to and what have you. Then we'll say hello to the folks in the chat, which can take quite a long time these days. And then we'll talk about whatever the theme of the week is, if somebody's had the chance to think of one. And then, then we'll do a bit of news. Then we'll do looking at some of the punters' pictures, which is brilliant. Some of the work people put up on the Facebook is brilliant. And, in between that, with all the other banter that's gone on, generally, we've hit 2 hours quite easily. Yeah. It's just gone by in a blur.
It does. It just flies by. I mean, it's like us chatting now. We're 2 hours 8 into this, and we're just chatting away. And I think certainly with my podcast, having 2 people on makes a difference, because you've got the sections where, like the quiz, where you're doing 2 answers and stuff like that. So it does extend it. I'm not bothered. because most
Yeah.
people, most of the feedback that I get from people, I've had a few who go, "Oh, it's bloody ridiculous. It should be half an hour and no more."
Yeah.
I mean, you barely get going by then.
Yeah.
Whereas most people are more than happy, and will, because I break it down in sections. People will listen to. Right, I know the first bit's going to be quite long. I know the middle bits are relatively short, and the end's going to be quite long. So they might listen to the first part and the second part, and then do it that way.
Listen to it again.
Do it that way.
Yeah. I've just for you, I've gone on and I found the original first episode, and it's now in the stream list. Dom, you're gonna have to go on your channel because it's actually from Dom's channel.
Right.
I couldn't find it on mine.
Cool.
It's called Fool's Gassing, episode 1 Q&A.
Fool's Gassing.
And it starts at about 15 minutes. So you're going to have to go on that video, edit out the first 15 minutes because it's just you setting up the stream. All you see is the professional standards of Dom with his page. How does this work?
God.
Well, this is one of the questions I was going to talk about, and you've just brought it up there. Really, is some of those really early episodes. There's a lot of a bit at the start with Ken kind of looking at the screen, sort of half blank, and then are we on?
Yeah.
Are we on? Are we starting?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, part of that was just the technology. We just we
it
couldn't
was just
get
what we
our
were
head
using.
around it.
Yeah,
we
needed
using
to make
OBS
we had to make sure
Discord
people
and
could
everything.
hear us in the chat because we were having mic difficulties and things like that with
It was
OBS,
a
like Dom was
nightmare.
saying. Oh god, I don't even want to think about it now.
Some of those, I've just clicked on that video, and you're right, it's horrible.
Yeah, you have to
But
just go and edit out the first
I'll have to
15
edit
minutes.
the whole thing out. But it was, but that was part of the game of learning it, right? And I think we're certainly not slick. That's absolutely sure.
We're
but
getting better.
We're
I
definitely
would
getting
say
better at
we
it.
are definitely getting better. Our video
Production
intros
values?
and stuff like that.
Oh,
Production values. They've definitely got better.
Yeah.
But do you know, if we went really slick, I think that would miss the point. Because it is just four blokes just having a laugh. So I think we get it. I wouldn't want to go, not that I think we're any of us capable of doing it, or maybe Ken, he's quite technical, could ever get to the point where it's really, really slick. I think it's just, but we definitely improved. But a lot of that is using.
I'm comfortable where we are now. I'm
Yeah,
definitely
I am
comfortable. Where we are now, I'm very much comfortable with what we're at. Introducing new bits and bobs every now and then is okay.
And it's always been, as far as I'm aware, it's always been a live format rather than like this that's recorded and I do minimal editing, but I add bits in and introductions, etc. Is that conscious decision at the start, and that's something you're going to stick with?
Truthfully, why we do it? Laziness.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
We haven't got It's a free video once every 4 weeks, and we don't have to edit it.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
That's exactly the reason.
I
wish I could say there was some science behind it, Ken, but it's just that we're lazy.
We just some of the episodes I do can take 4 or 5 hours to edit. This Zencaster that I'm using now has individual channels for each person, so it's just so much easier to edit them before. If somebody's typing away in the background or having a drink, you can just silence that bit.
Silence it out.
It's so much easier to do than when it's one single channel. I
think the good thing about being live though is does mean we can get that interaction with people immediately on the chat, which I think
that's the other thing. It is the chat. The chat is I love it. I do love the chat.
Yeah, me too.
There's a couple of guests I've had who've said things not rude or anything like that, but quite controversial about other people in the hobby. And if it had been live, there'd be a knock on the door and it'd be go, Mr. Riley, would you like this court papers?
Yeah, do you know, I tell you what else is quite good actually is when we have guests on and we're live. So like we've got the Perrys on, or we've got we've had Rich the Lardies on. When they say something, they can't take it back.
Yeah.
So if someone asks them a question and they shouldn't have actually mentioned something that they've given away, like their next project that they're going to be doing, and everyone's found out. That's it. It's out there.
There is that.
Yeah, so it does have its benefits as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. So those guests that you've had on, is that something you're gonna? Because it's not a weekly thing, is it? It's every now and again.
No.
Is that something you're planning to do in the future?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's always been I think we just wanted to freshen it up from time to time, just so that we could have. But fundamentally, it's just the four of us chatting about our hobby. So if we had it every week, I think it would change the nature of the whole thing. But having people on occasionally just to provide a different insight into what's going on, I think. To be honest, we do it as much because we enjoy it, and that's always been fundamentally a lot of what we do with the podcast is what would we enjoy. So we've had Harry Sidebottom on, for instance, for the author on it.
For an author,
absolutely fantastic to hear him talk about, because he's a passionate. Obviously he's a historian, but he's also a gamer. Yeah. We had the Perrys on a couple of times. We had Rich on. We've had.
They're due on again, aren't they? We got to get them back on.
We need to get them on again. We've had Mel, the terrain tutor. So we have a range of different people that we just think would be great. It's much.
We've had other mini manufacturers as well, haven't we? Had
Offensive Miniatures.
Early on, I remember Offensive Miniatures.
Very early on, we had him on, Dave. So we had Menu can be not Menu King for the strongest, Simon.
Oh, Simon Miller was on.
Simon Miller was on. So we've had a different range of people, and it's been nice. And it's, but I wouldn't want. This year I think certainly when Martin and I were wandering around Sloot back in November or whenever it was. And there were a couple of people we chatted to there and said, would you happy to come on? And they said yes. So there will be a couple of guests coming on this year for sure. And
because we just started a new year, haven't we? And you've declared it season 3. Season 3. Is it? I mean, and there's nothing wrong with the show as it is, but is there any plans for changes for season 3?
Ooh. No, we haven't
really discussed any changes.
No, we've just kind of nailed it down to what it is at the moment. The format seems to work. The thing with the guests is, we might not have a guest for, say, 2 months, and then we might have 3 guests in a row. It just works around their schedule as well as ours. There's no fixed thing for guests. We've never had that.
No.
So like once every 4 weeks, there's going to be the guests are when the guests come on. No, I think we're quite happy with where we're at the moment. I'm sure saying that now we'll introduce a new section or something like that into it.
It's hard to think of what else we would do differently. I mean, you never say never.
I liked what you did with your quiz. That was that was quite cool. I did enjoy that. Martin does his. He mentioned
he did a yearly quiz, didn't he?
A quiz. Yeah, I do like a good quiz every now and then. So.
I mean, the thing with the quiz is it gets you to talk about 20 topics really quickly. And have a laugh and a joke about it. Some people have got very, very upset about some of those questions.
Yeah. I think some people are going to be very upset about my gravy incident. They're not going to be happy. What is that southerner going on about? Southerner not like gravy? Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyone north of Winchester is northern to me, so it's
that's true. That
I always say south of Sheffield is south.
Jeez Louise.
So, but then
I'm very south.
But then Scottish people come on and call me a southerner, and
call you a southerner. Yeah,
it's where you go, isn't it? So there's a couple of little bits just to finish before we finish off, and I was just going to talk about the Facebook group. That's growing and growing and growing, isn't it? I mean, I remember when I kind of joined, there was like 80, 100 people on it maybe. You're up to 400, 450.
Oh God, what are we now? Yeah, 450. Yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. It's
so how long after the podcast started did the Facebook group start?
It's about a year, wasn't it? I think the only reason we started the Facebook group was for CrackCon.
Yeah.
That was the only reason we started it. Was because of CrackCon, and
I can't remember the background to it. I think.
Because we needed somewhere for everybody to congregate to give out information for. So it's been about a year now. I think it's been around.
But once again, that's got a really good community feel on there. There's
it's
we've not had
we've not
had any.
Nope. We did once, and it got very close to a ban hammer coming down. Very, very close, but that person had a word said, and that person is still part of the community and understands now that it's what they did was not really in line with the group.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because it's good to have positive places about the hobby on the internet that you can go to it, and I know I can post stuff on there, and I'm not going to get people saying,
"No,
well, you haven't done this with the uniforms." And
it's the only place you can go where you get a badger, you get a root vegetable with Napoleonics.
What is going on with that turnip stuff?
Steve. The root vegetables all of the Plastic Crap podcast.
Yeah.
He loves it. Oh, he's on it. Steve will turnip anything. He'll turn anything into a root vegetable.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing, and I don't know if you saw the Yorkshire Gamers Wargaming rules for life. So
definitely in category 4.
Category 4 is no weird shit. Number 1 is 1 period, 1 scale. Number 2 is stop fucking about and paint it. Number 3 is never rebase, and number 4 is no weird shit. And that is turnip. It's just so anti rule 4.
Yeah,
it's
just
unbelievable.
Just to put it out there, he's now going on about turniping a gingerbread man.
Oh my god!
I'm just looking on the Facebook group,
and
so everything's acceptable on our Facebook page. It doesn't matter if you're a day one painter or
But we have some really, really fantastic painters, and then we have some complete beginners, and that's they're treated equally. And I do think a lot of it's self-policed. I think the guys do a fantastic job, guys and girls, because we do have some ladies on there as well. And I think they generally self-police. As Ken said, I think we got close once, so having to be a bit hard. And actually, we just mentioned something to him in the show, and actually. It's still there, and it's never been a problem again. So hopefully that continues.
Because I take part in a thing called the Analog Hobbies Winter Paint Challenge, and somebody's put some turnip stuff up in there. So there's more than Steve that's doing it. And so
it's an infection. It's a virus. Not a virus.
I was going to say, is this the 5th wave of COVID?
Yeah, it's
turnip, Omicron, then turnip.
Yeah,
I'd
say what else. Do you know what else is just kicking off tonight on that Facebook group? We've now got a Blood Bowl team apparently. So someone's done a Blood Bowl team of us. Dom, Steve, and Martin are all these massive ogre things there, and they look quite similar. And then apparently I am all the little grots, so they're all called Ken.
Oh.
And they're throwing them all about. You'll have to check it out. It's
proper.
Funny.
I'll go on there. A proper bit of bullying going on.
Very funny.
You guys are both on Instagram, aren't you? I think I've seen you on there.
Yeah.
Yes. On Instagram. I haven't posted on there in a while, but yes.
And then, do you do Twitter or anything else like that?
No, Steve is the Twitter man.
Yeah, I've seen Steve on there a couple of times.
No, I used to do a lot of Twitter for work and stuff, and I just lost interest in it. It's full of idiots.
Yeah, it's
sorry, Steve.
It's another one of those places that if you stay within the very tight historical wargaming community, it's very, very good. If you step outside, even slightly.
You're in a dangerous area.
But there's a bit of a worrying thing at the moment where if you post anything German, World War II German, loads of people just go at you for being a Nazi, and it's just like, no, I'm just painting a tank. It's just not. So it's
playing with toy soldiers.
It's kind of turning a little bit on there, but I just stay out of it and don't answer anything like that.
No.
So the final thing I want to talk about before we wrap up for the evening is the latest mega war games show that is CrackCon. And
God, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this kind of felt to me as a regular watcher of PCP that you were just having a joke about it to start with. and
Yeah.
it
100%.
and it kind of got out of hand, and it was like, oh shit, we're gonna have to do this.
Yep.
we were speaking about it off air, completely off air, and then accidentally, I think it was me. I mentioned
Yes, it was you.
and that was it. As soon as people heard about it, they were like, "Well, we could come and have a game if you want."
When's it happening? Where is it happening?
Where's
It's
when?
like-
Where? And then we were like, for weeks and weeks, we were like, "Oh, we might do it." And then one day, I think we all got together at the end of the stream. Martin went, "We should do it, shouldn't we?" And we were like, "Yeah, go on then."
Yeah, it was that simple, that scientific. It was just like,
Yeah, my
all
God,
right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So how much organising did it take from start? Because I mean,
Quite a bit.
I've been involved, not so much as much now as I used to be, but in the organisation of Fiasco, which is the Wargames show up in Leeds that's now at the Royal Armouries.
It's a big thing.
And there's a lot involved. So
Yeah.
because you've kind of gone. So that show's been going since the 70s. So you can't, as you join in Leeds Wargames Club, you're in a hamster wheel that just keeps turning. Whereas you guys have started from scratch. So how difficult was that?
We each had little jobs, didn't we? We all
just
delegated
split it
things. We all split up the things. So obviously I was there on procurement.
Oh, very good.
So I literally emailed.
Do you remember the 18?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the one that got all this stuff.
50. I think I emailed up to 100 different manufacturers and hobby people.
Yeah.
And asked if we could have anything for our prize giveaway.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise at the time, but everyone kept coming up to us and saying, "We have never seen a War Games raffle like yours." we were like, it was one of those things. It was like 40 prizes.
Brilliant.
That you could have, and it's like me and Martin only really realised when we went to Warfare and we saw their prize table and there's like 3 things, and we were like, this is Warfare, yeah, and we were like, literally, it was just full, and everyone got a goodie bag that came. So I don't know if
like
you know,
a party bag. Everyone went away with.
It
I
was
think
literally.
we all split things up quite nicely between us, and I think also we have to say that Martin's wife Hayley,
Haley, the Excel
absolute
spreadsheet
godsend, because none of us could organise a piss up in a brewery, frankly. But she is phenomenally well organised. So she had spreadsheets going and all sorts of things.
Haley's naughty. She loves an Excel spreadsheet. She loves it. I think she loves it more than Martin, to be honest with you.
So I do think Hayley was probably the one person that made sure it did actually happen.
Yeah,
she was the glue.
Martin got the venue. I did the ticketing. What did Steve do? I don't know.
Steve did his usual thing of keep quiet and be tall.
Paint some turnip stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He was the glamorous bit.
So where did it get held? Where did it end up being held?
Derby. It was in Derby.
Derby, yeah. So
was it
Boards and Swords was the shop up there.
Oh, right,
and it was funny because we were looking into where we should hold it, and of course the people who were saying they were coming from all over the country, and in fact at one point people were coming from other parts of the world for it, which was scary.
Someone was coming from France, which was
somebody was coming
crazy.
from
Was that
France.
Leslie?
Somebody even came from Scotland. Yeah, Leslie was thinking. No, it wasn't actually.
It wasn't Leslie. No,
it was somebody else. But anyway, and we thought, well, we'll do something central. So we were looking sort of a central zone. I can't remember how Martin found Boards and Swords, but he did. And they were so accommodating and so helpful.
Oh yeah,
and it was kind of
insurance reasons as well.
So, because when we looked into it, I thought, oh, God, if we hire our own venue, we'll have to get insurance. We'll have to do, how do we manage people coming in and not coming in? And then they said, for quite a reasonable rate, you can use the shop. And they host competitions and games and stuff there all the time. So it was easy. And even got teas and coffees during the day. And I provided pizzas at lunchtime and all this kind of stuff. So it was a really good venue, and I think if and when we do another one,
I was going to say that's the next question. Is it going to be a regular thing?
Yes,
I suspect it will happen again. Yeah, in fact, we
haven't managed to nail down a date yet.
No,
it will happen again this year. We're just not sure when. And it's going to be the same venue again. But
we'll do the same place.
We're going to have the whole shop this time, though. That's the difference.
Oh right, so you didn't have the entire area.
We had most of it. We had most of it. there was another tournament going. Well, there was a tournament going on at the time that had the smaller area that was upstairs. But I think this time he said
floor.
This time he said, I think he said he will shut his shop.
Yeah, he did.
Good lad.
Yeah.
So, good lad. Well, that means he must be doing something right and getting people through the door, which is brilliant to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he enjoyed having historical gamers in his shop.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
part of it. He was quite pleased.
Fantastic. Well, that's kind of going to bring us to an end of our chat for this evening. And traditionally on the show, I'll give people the chance to ask me a question because I've been asking them questions for 2.5 hours. Ken, did you have a question for me before we finish?
Yeah. If you could give somebody like myself or anybody out there a tip for painting to your standard, what would it be?
Other than stop fucking about and paint.
Other than that, yeah.
And I have to say that is my tip. In that a lot of people will try so many different techniques out on so many different figures, and it just draws people down this line where, because I said it in one of the other podcasts, somebody came to me and they said, Ken, I've been watching these videos on YouTube, and they're telling me to water my paints down, and they're telling me to put this medium in, and they're telling me to use thin light coats, and I'm doing 5 light coats on the figure, and then I'm putting a wash on, and then I'm doing a dry brush, and then I'm doing some wet palette work, and I'm doing this. Why is it taking me so long to paint figures? And it's like, stop fucking about and paint it. So I slight change on what Kev Dallimore does, in that I build my colours up with different shades, but I do it quite. If you watch, I've done a couple of painting tutorials, and the one on the Republican Romans or the Carthaginians is the one to watch. And I do a thing called drag brush, which sounds like a TV show. You've heard of dry brushing, haven't you? Yeah. It's like that, but the brush is getting, each stage you do, you have less paint on, and you put it onto the figure at less strength, if you like. So you're building up your layers rather than carefully building up each layer with your wet palette and your different colour. I'll have 4 or 5 different colours. Oh yeah, no. I'll get me 97-foot Pro Art brush, undercoat, and then really heavy on it, so it's virtually covered everything, but you can still see a bit of the undercoat. Next one, I'll get a slightly lighter brush, slightly less figure on the paint again. And if you watch me doing it on the thing, I'm not even looking at it.
Just cracking up.
And then if you do that 4 or 5 times, you look at your figure and you go, okay, that's all right, and then put the what do they say? Faces, bases, and flags. They're the things. They're the things to spend the time on. And I've now started to wear these magnifying glasses for faces, just to get them absolutely spot on, because that's what your eye's drawn to. So painting in batches as well. That's my other big thing. If I'm doing a pipe block, I'll paint a base at a time, which is 8 figures. Or 6 to 8 figures, and then you can put them on. I put a picture up tonight of the latest unit of Zouaves I'm doing, and I paint a base at a time, and that sense of I'm getting there. Oh, and you can see the base going up. So try and develop a technique that is quick rather than the wet palette thing, which just it makes you spend so much time going between layers of colour, which is great if you're doing a Chaplain Librarian Templar thing that you've just spent 30 quid on. But if you're doing 36-figure Napoleonic unit, then you're going to be there forever, aren't you? So that's what I'd say. So, Dom?
How about skirmish gaming? Would you? Have you?
I think you should just be kicked off, Dom.
I just have to.
I hope that gave me an
you
extra 10 points on the quiz.
Yeah. The
two fingers there was a little bit.
I did mention this when I spoke to Alex last time, but I'll say it again. The reason I don't do skirmish gaming is because I get bored. So if I'm doing a project, I'm planning for. I look at 500 figures for me to start gaming with it. So the stuff that I'm doing at the moment, that's not going to get gamed with until August, September time, maybe, when I get to 500 figures. And that drives me on to paint those figures. If I'm doing a skirmish game that's got 10 figures, I've painted it on Thursday afternoon, and that's it. What am I doing? I've finished. And going back to the very start of the podcast when we talked about the Venn diagram of wargaming, I'm a painter collector. I'm not that bothered about the gaming. So if I finish my skirmish army, it'll just sit in a box. So I've got one skirmish thing that I do, and that's the Sweeney. And what keeps me going with that is the terrain, because I've found model railways, the O-gauge model railway buildings that you can buy in card that are just absolutely out of this world.
The Met card kits,
they're absolutely amazing. There's a guy called Purple Bob's Hobbies, and he does the most amazing O-gauge buildings. And they take days to build, but that keeps me going in that skirmish game because I finish painting those figures. So that's it, Dom. I get bored with it, man. That's the problem.
No, fair enough. I just thought, given it was a big game, I'd ask that one.
No worries at all. That just leaves me to say thank you very much for taking your time this evening, guys. And if you'd just like to say good night to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us
on. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Thanks for having us. It's been fun.
Well, that was a lovely interview there with Ken and Dom from the Plastic Crack podcast. And if you're not already a fan of that podcast, it doesn't come out on audio. It's done live, as we discussed during the course of the interview, on a Monday night at 8 o'clock. Usually a couple of hours or just over, and it's then recorded and left for posterity if you want to watch it on catch up a couple of days later or at your convenience. But I recommend you get down and watch it. It's really, really good. And if you can take part in live and join in the chat, it's a good bit of entertainment for a Monday night. If you just go onto YouTube and type in Plastic Crack Podcast and look for the live event, it's usually up a day or so beforehand, and you can just sit and wait for it to start. If you do watch that already, then you'll probably know that there's another couple of regular guests or regular people on the Plastic Crack podcast, and you heard the names mentioned in the interview with Dom and Ken, and of course that's Steve and Martin, and hopefully the guys, I'll do another one like a Plastic Crack Part 2 later on in the year, and have Martin and Steve on, and we can have a chat with them about all things plastic podcast from their perspective. We've run over quite a bit tonight, 2.5 hours rather than 2 hours that I normally go for. But as I said, during the course of the interview, having two people on extends the time with the questions, etc. So I hope you're still here. I hope you're still enjoying it. It was a extremely funny interview with Dom and Ken. January 2022 was the first month of the new intended schedule of second and fifth Fridays of the month, and I missed the second Friday. Unfortunately, work got in the way again, and this is being released on the third Friday of January, and there'll just be one episode this month. And in fact, one episode for the next 2 months. Just happens that the way the calendar's worked out this year, there's only 4 Fridays in January, February and March. So we will be back in February, hopefully on the second Friday. maybe the third. And next month's guest is, I'm really excited about this, it's going to be Jerry Elliott. And you will have heard that name before if you've listened to this podcast for a while. And Jerry was one of the people who was involved in the Wargames Holiday Centre up at Scarborough after Peter Gilder had it. And it's going to be really nice talking to Jerry and about the past, about his time with the Wargames Holiday Centre, but also about the present, because Jerry's he's got his own fantastic setup with some absolutely massive tables and massive armies that we're going to talk about in the next episode. So I'm looking forward to that. And until then, Civi.